Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Comic Source Comic Boom collaboration. It's time for some DC K.O. Rocky and I are really excited to welcome our friend Steve to the show for the first time. If
Say
you
hi,
watched
Steve.
our
Hello, everybody out
yeah,
there.
if you watched our San Diego Comic Con wrap up, you probably recognize Steve from the photos. He took that trip out there with us this year. We had a blast. So when Rocky and I decided we're going to do our predictions for who's going to win these KO fights, DC King Omega event that's about to kick off in October next month, we decided we'd bring Steve along. I mean, we talked about this at San Diego Comic Con that we wanted to do this. So we know the brackets, we know the matchups. So we're all going to predict who we think is going to win each particular round. But there's a lot of caveats that are going to be going on here. Our scoring, we're going to do a little bit differently. So each round, each round's going to have a different number of points. So in the first round, you get 1 point for a correct. In the second round, the round of 16, you get 2 points for a correct answer. In the quarterfinals, you get 4 points. The semifinals, you get 8. And then the final, you get 16. However, if your original pick survives, that's the only way you get the full points. If you have to pick a new pick in the second round, so for example, the first two matchups, we have Superman versus Giganta, and then we have Captain Atom versus Power Girl, right? So if you pick Giganta and Captain Atom, and it ends up being Superman versus Power Girl, you get to pick between Supergirl and Power Girl and Superman, but you can't get full points. You can't get 2. You're only going to get half. You're only going to get 1 point if you get that next round correct. As opposed to, if you pick Superman and you get that right, you have a better option. So I hope that all makes sense. I probably will be able to share the spreadsheet. I just have to make sure I can lock it down so nobody can make changes after, and then I'll share it so you guys can see what our picks are. If you're curious after the episode's over, I'll probably share it sometime this week. But the only other caveat is that if this gets messy in terms of DC releasing the books, like, will we have all the winners? Will we know who wins each particular fight before the next round starts? So hopefully there's not going to be any late books. Hopefully things aren't going to be out of order. And then just to throw a third monkey wrench in the mix here, Scott Snyder put this out on Twitter just yesterday, so a lot of people may not be aware of it, or I should say Saturday, because this is probably not going out until Monday. Not all of these matchups are going to be head-to-head. So he basically intimated that there's going to be some situations where it's a bunch of people going after like a particular artifact or maybe a particular weapon, because we do know, based on the DC K.O. panel at San Diego Comic-Con, that everybody's going to get to bring a weapon. So there may be instances where several people, 4 or 5 different people, are all going after the same weapon. One person gets it. They're sort of the winner for that round, right? So it's not always necessarily going to be head-to-head. And it was funny. So he put that out on Twitter to let everybody know, hey, it's not always head-to-head, so things could get a little bit flipped around. And I saw somebody who obviously was a Star Sapphire fan, because she's going up against Batman, and Batman is the engine that drives. And so it had a picture of Star Sapphire, and it had the famous quote from Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance, and I got a pretty good kick out of that. So, So again, it's going to be fun, because here's the thing: we can't just go based on, okay, if these people were real and they really had these powers, who would win in a fight? Because at the end of the day, we've seen it happen so many times where the person you think will win doesn't win, because who will win in a fight between two fictional characters? Whoever the writer wants, or whoever the writer has been instructed by editorial to have win, or whoever makes the most sense editorially that they want to keep their profile high because they have their own standalone title coming soon. So there's a lot of factors other than just, well, yeah, if it was really Firestorm with his abilities versus Guy Gardner with his abilities, if they were both really real, this is who would win. There's a lot of other factors to consider. So at the end of the day, it makes it like a complete wild card. Any of these characters could beat any of the other characters, in any given fight based on how the writer has it play out. So before we get started with our picks, I'll throw it over to you first, Rocky. Any thoughts about anything that we've talked about so far?
Yeah, I just want to be very clear here. I love that DC's doing this. I echo Scott Snyder's comments, as all of us do who are DC fans. The last time this was done was, I mean, Marvel's done it more than a couple times in terms of having verses with their Secret Wars. Snyder's absolutely right. About time we had this for DC. It's fantastic, and I'm having so much fun with this. I'm looking forward to us doing this, and I'm straight up. I'm doing this in. My picks are coming from the heart, and they're coming from my own head canon. I am choosing, despite all logic. I'm well aware of what corporate would like this character to do, and this might sell more if these matchups occur, et cetera, et cetera. I get all that, but my head canon's my head canon, and I got my biases, and I'm going with that, and I'm going for home. But I'm going for the winner. I'm shooting high, and I'm hoping for the wild card win here, and I think. I don't, it'll be interesting. You're probably going to criticize my top choice, but I don't care.
There's no, yeah, there's no Cassandra Cain and there's no Lady Shiva, so you're not there.
Too bad.
So, but I applaud you for going from your heart. My thing is, I'm too competitive. I want to win. Straight up, I want to crush you guys. So I'm not going with my heart on these picks. I'm going with who I think editorial or the writers will want to win each particular fight. Sometimes that lines up. Sometimes that lines up for me. A lot of times it doesn't. So, what about you?
Well, going corporate. I am on the other side of the fence from Rocky, and I'm definitely going with corporate. I think the way I predicted is how editorial will want the readers and the fan base to read the books is kind of how I picked. So.
Yeah, but that being said, there are a couple, like we'll get to one pick especially where I think people will be surprised by who I pick. So anyway, let's kick it off. First matchup, as I mentioned before, Superman versus Giganta. I sort of feel like this is an easy one, but at the same time, it's like if DC wanted to screw up people's brackets, they could throw everybody for a loop right from the start, but. No brainer here. I got to go with Superman on this one. So that's my pick for the first round. What about you, Rocky?
Well, I'm going with Superman here, but I just want to say that I think this is going to be one of the things we have to keep in mind, and this is where I love the story elements is Superman, by all accounts, if Omega Energy, you build up Omega Energy by showing no mercy whatsoever, and Superman, by all accounts, should lose to every one of his opponents if you go by that metric, because he's just a nice guy. He shows mercy. He always holds back. So Superman, I think, initially is at a disadvantage. And Giganta, I think, if it was Giganta, I think, will have that initial edge. She'll be able to get in there. She'll get bloody with Superman, but Superman will eventually, he's got those knuckles with the solar power, with the Nova Suns in it. I think that's going to take over. But I think Giganta is going to put up a hell of a fight, and we don't know what weapon Giganta is going to have herself. But at the end of the day, as much as I say I don't want to go with editorial and corporate, we know that this is kind of a Superman story. Snyder hinted at that, so I got to go with Superman as well. So, what do you think, Steve?
Yeah, Giganta definitely has a killer instinct at times, and what if her weapon that she chooses is kryptonite?
Yeah, that's right.
So,
yeah.
All that being said, I'm still going with Superman as well. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, I think we're in the summer of Superman. It's gotta be Superman. This morning I got to read Batman #1. Obviously, it's probably record sales for them. And at the back of the book, they got Superman. They're hinting at K.O. He's coming out. He's got these gauntlets. He's ready to go. It's Superman.
Yeah, I agree. I considered that as well as I continued in the brackets, like the fact that it's the summer of Superman. People are still high on the movie. They're not going to have him lose in the first round. So, all right. So right away here with the second matchup, here's where I'm going against my heart. You've probably figured it out by now since I've mentioned several times. I think Captain Atom would wipe the floor with Power Girl if he uses his actual abilities. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't expect Power Girl to be getting a series anytime soon. She just had a solo series that got canceled for low sales. But Captain Atom, he hasn't had a solo series in decades. So going against my heart here, as much as I want to pick Captain Atom, I'm going with Power Girl. What about you, Rocky?
Yeah, I have to say, First of all, I'm stunned you went with Power Girl. The amount that you absolutely sung the praises of Power of Captain Atom, and you love you love the
I love
background, you love
Captain
the
Adam.
New 52, you love the story, you love the character. You also we debated and we had mixed reviews, but you love the storyline with Tom King's Jenny
Jenny
Sparks,
Sparks.
and Captain Atom was part of that. But I got to go with Power Girl too. I do. I think she's an underrated character, and I just want to say this. This is why Power Girl's a wild card to me. Big wild card in my opinion. Power Girl is what was identified early on months ago as one of the multiversal wild cards. Because she's from an Earth 2 that doesn't exist. She's a multiversal wild card. No, don't be fooled by the fact that her series was recently canceled. I think she's a multiversal wild card. I think she's got some extra power as a result of that. This is my headcanon, and I got to give the edge to Power Girl. So I'll go with that.
All right.
All right. What
Well,
about you, Steve?
I honestly think if we look at that first bracket with Superman going ahead, I don't think the sales would be as good if we let Power Girl go through. I honestly think everyone wants to see a Superman Captain Atom matchup, and I think that's what editorial is going to give the fans. Superman needs a reason to do something a little shady. And, you know, if beating on Power Girl is his motivation to beat Captain Atom to get to the next round, then so be it. Captain Atom is my pick.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. You're right. I think that people would rather see Captain Atom than Superman versus Power Girl. But, you know, again, the fact that these aren't all head-to-head matchups, who knows if we actually would get a head-to-head between Captain Atom and Superman. But, yeah, but hey, I like the pick. I like the pick. All right, next one again. I'm going with my, editorial. Who do I think has a higher profile? I think Firestorm wins. I mean, he could theoretically just change the molecular structure of Guy Gardner and turn him into a pile of slush. But again, he has a higher profile. DC hasn't known what to do with Firestorm in years, if not decades. So yeah, I'm going to go with Guy Gardner, a character that I don't particularly care for. Although I do admit that I love Nathan Fillion's portrayal in the Superman movie. But yeah, going against my heart, going with Guy Gardner. Brain over emotion. What about you, Rocky?
I got to tell you, I'm not a fan of Guy Gardner either. I've never liked the character. I've never cared for him, but I would be the first to admit that if I was ever in a fight, if he was my friend, if he was the friend that I was always annoyed with, I would be the first to admit that if I get into trouble, Guy Gardner would be the guy to call, because he does always seem to show up just when you need him, even though he's an a-hole. Even though he has a reputation of treating women terribly, he's on again, off again with Ice, his girlfriend. And he was treated badly by Tom King, much to my delight, in the Human Target series. Didn't bother me at all. But admittedly, the guy knows how to fight. And I think Firestorm is too mixed up with the personalities. Firestorm presently has Jason Rocky, and he's got the Professor Stein. And I think he's too screwed up psychologically to be able to identify his true darkness, because you're dealing with three people inside there. It's kind of a mess. And so I think at the end of the day, you need focused anger and aggression, and I think Guy Gardner is going to be the one doing that. So,
yeah, but the thing is, like, if there was ever a time to have a series for Firestorm to come out of, an event to clean up the mess, because I agree he's a total mess, it could be now. We're not privy to those editorial plans. But a Firestorm series coming in 2026, and it's been a while, it would make sense. But
that's right.
But yeah. So, I mean, hopefully, my heart says hopefully that's what's going to happen, but my head says not. What about you, Steve? Who do you have?
Well, I'm not going to lie. When I first saw this chart and I saw Firestorm, my eyes lit up. I was really excited to see that he's going to be involved in this KO event. However, I think, once again, with corporate, we've got a lot of stuff going on with the DC universe. Guy Gardner, obviously, right now in Peacemaker, his portrayal, I mean, it was at episode 1. He's just a comical kind of, I'm going to give it to Guy Gardner, but I also want, to applaud DC. Firestorm's there. It's baby steps, and I really do hope we do see an ongoing series falling out of this.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, next up we have Jay Garrick versus Cheetah. So this one is a complete toss-up for me. We actually had a Jay Garrick series not so long ago, 6-issue mini, which was a lot of fun. And he's currently showing up at the JSA. Cheetah, she's been showing up a lot in Wonder Woman. She actually has a title that she's, the co-main star of, along with Cheshire. It's been a lot of fun so far. So I like this one, complete toss-up for me. I have no thoughts one way or the other, even editorial. So interesting for editorial to put these two together. And I don't have a particular affinity or dislike of either of these characters. They're both kind of on the same level to me. So this one's a total coin flip for me, and I'm going with Cheetah. Total coin flip.
It's funny that you say that, because this is not a coin flip for me at all. I think this is a no-brainer. I say this with great respect to Jay Garrick, but Jay Garrick is just so much relentlessly a nice guy, right?
That's true.
Barry Allen, who I think Barry Allen is too much of a nice guy. I think Wally West is too much. I think all the Flashers are just too damn nice. They're not meant to win this Omega thing, and Jay Garrick's the only Flash in this lineup. And as the contestants, he's going to get his butt kicked by Cheetah. And also, there's in a lot of fan versus videos that I've watched over the years, Cheetah has in some stories, and you can agree or disagree with this, but you'd be agreeing or disagreeing with the respective writers. Cheetah has been said to have been as fast as the Flash in terms of she has super speed. And I think Jay Garrick is going to be obliterated, because if you give Cheetah a little bit of Omega energy, I think Jay Garrick's going to be too focused on trying to utilize the Speed Force than focusing on building up Omega energy. And at the end of the day, he's just too damn nice. Cheetah's going to hand him his lunch. And I don't care what editorial says.
If she's as fast as any of the Flashes, it would be Jay Garrick. I feel like he's the slowest of like the three main.
Fair enough.
I don't think she's as fast. I mean, she's not time traveling the way Wally West and Barry Allen are, but yeah, I mean, that's sound reasoning. What about you, Steve? Where'd you come out with this one?
I mean, it was pretty much a coin flip for me as well. I think Jay Garrick is going through. But I mean, it is also interesting that I mean, Cheetah's got that big heist going on right now. And so it's tough because I think editorially, the ball's rolling right now with Cheetah, but I agree with you. This is just a coin flip for me. Jay Garrick's going through.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, other than Superman, we've all I guess we all pick Guy Gardner too, but yeah, definitely throwing some. I mean, smart way to play it by Steve. We're letting him pick last every time. He's like, I'm gonna go against the other two guys because then I'll be that far ahead. If we get it right. But
it is interesting, guys. It is interesting. If we're looking at this purely editorially, I would just note that there's only one Green Lantern on this, and that was that's Guy Gardner. There's only one Flash, that's Jay Garrick.
Yeah.
So for editorial reasons, that might be a reason why those iterations of those concepts might go farther than we're giving them credit for. We'll see.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, you're not wrong. All right, next one for me is no brainer. I've already read the next issue of Aquaman. I'm actually ahead. I've read all of this week's DC and next week's DC books. And yeah, Aquaman now with the power of the blue, being the avatar of the blue, he's more powerful than ever. He's not only does he have that, he has Mira's powers to control water. This may be the most lopsided contest of the first round, I think. So yeah, Aquaman just completely obliterates King Shark in my mind. So yeah. And that one, I not only do I think editorial, everything lines up. Editorial, my heart, and who I think would actually win if these were real characters. All three. This was the easiest pick for me of the entire first round.
Well, it's interesting. It's funny. Initially, this was but I will say that King Shark is. If I'm being as objective as possible, there's a strong argument that King Shark could win this. If ever there was a wild card scenario, King Shark could pull this off. I say that only because he's just in every iteration I've seen him in, other than his first appearance, he's eaten a human at some point. He's brutal on the Suicide Squad. He's deadly. and his first instinct is to eat and to eviscerate and to chop and in my view, I think that there's been attempts to humanize him, but good luck with that. But having said that, Aquaman has been powered up lately, and I just think he's the representative of the seven seas, so to speak. The blue, there, he's simply got too much on his side, and Aquaman does kill. Aquaman does kill. He doesn't, he chooses not to when he's with the Justice League, but as King of Atlantis, he's taken lives before, and he's got that lethal instinct that as a monarch that I think is going to put him over the edge. And so, yeah, I give it to Aquaman.
What about you, Steve? You bucking the trend?
I honestly think this was the easiest pick of them all. It has got to be Aquaman. And with saying that, I'm not typically a reader of Aquaman, but he has been added to my pull list. I am enjoying that ongoing series. His power set is ever evolving. What they're doing is incredible. I'm loving it. And I just can't see things slowing down for that character. It's going to be Aquaman.
Yeah, I agree. I think they want to raise his profile and get the sales up for that series. The only argument I could make for why King Shark could win would be because he's voiced by Sylvester Stallone in the Suicide Squad movies. Rocky always wins the fight, man. But no, not this time. Afraid not. Aquaman for sure. Next one, we have Connor Hawk versus Hawkman. This is another one that was pretty easy for me. I mean, I love Connor Hawk. Interesting that it's him representing kind of the Green Arrow family as opposed to Oliver Queen or Arsenal. But yeah, I think Hawkman. Yeah, I mean he's got it all over. I mean, Connor Hawk can fire as many arrows as he wants at Hawkman. Hawkman's just going to dodge. He's the best aerial combatant in the DCU. So even though Connor Hawk has long range abilities, he doesn't ever connect. He doesn't ever hit Hawkman. Hawkman can just dive bomb him and knock Connor Hawk out. And that's the other thing. It's not like Connor has invulnerability or super strength or anything like that. So he's kind of at a disadvantage. Now, if this were Connor Hawk and Hawkman in a ring and Hawkman doesn't get to go aerial, then it's a different story, right? Because we know Connor Hawk's supposedly one of the best hand-to-hand combatants in the DCU. That's a completely different fight. But Connor would still have the disadvantage of Hawkman's, better durability, superhuman durability and endurance and strength and what have you. So yeah, for me, Hawkman on this one. What about you, Rocky?
Well, I gotta go with Hawkman. I don't care. Connor Hawk on his best day. Connor Hawk is he's basically the guy. The guy got most of his training as a monk. He's Zen-like. He's meditative. He's reflective, and he's very calm and he's cool. All the things that are going to destroy him in an Omega energy-based tournament. He was going to be eviscerated. You want a real out there theory? I can tell you that, with the exception of one other character, I think Connor Hawk would come in close to dead last on all of these contestants because he's just too. I mean, Jay Garrick would probably be last, and I would put Connor Hawk next to him. He's not good enough. Hawkman has got multi-generations. Hawkman has lived multiple lives being a violent, eviscerating individual. And he's got that mace, and he's deadly, and he will absolutely, he's got a mace of nth metal. He doesn't even have to choose a weapon, and he's going to be kicking some ass. And so, I don't know. This is a no-brainer for me, Hawkman, and anybody who's reading between the lines of what I just said, if Hawkman isn't one of the favorites to win this, if you look at his background, in my view, Hawkman ought to be in the top 5, in my respectful opinion.
Yeah, Hawkman's been showing up a little bit too in the Green Lantern books. So, the Horus, the Hawk God, what have you. Yeah, I may have to switch up the order here though, because Rocky keeps copying me. He's picked every pick that I've picked. So, but I have a feeling that you might be on the Hawkman train too, Steve. Am I correct?
This was tough because growing up, I shot bow. I shot bear bow growing up. I've done 3D archery shoots. I want to sympathize with Connor Hawk, but the bottom line is It's not going to happen. However, we don't know what items are in play here, right? And I
could have a weapon.
there could be
a bow weapon.
This could be something completely out there that's going to give him the edge. But even with an edge, I'm still going Hawkman. It's just editorially, I think that's who we need to see be another powerhouse in the DC universe. So I'm going Hawkman.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to raise the profile of Connor Hawk, you definitely have Connor Hawk win the fight between these two. But I don't think they care about raising the profile of Connor. I just don't see it. Yeah, maybe he does have a magical bow that's like heat seeking, but it's Hawkman seeking, like fact, whatever somehow magically is kind of targeted to him. But yeah, I still don't see it. So anyway, this next one again, man, I would love, like my heart would love to see Black Lightning defeat Lex Luthor, but I don't see it. Now, and the caveat being, again, they get weapons. I'm assuming this Luthor gets to be in his battle armor. If it's Black Lightning and Luthor's not in his battle armor, it's Black Lightning all day. But I'm assuming that Luthor is in his battle armor. I'm going with Lex Luthor. What about you, Rocky?
Yeah, I just I don't want to. I know there's a lot of talk of diversity and the issue of diversity in comic books. I know it's controversial, and I don't, not to bring all that stuff up, but I do note that there's a lot of characters that I really love here, characters of color that I think are awesome and cool. And Black Lightning, man, that guy's got Jefferson Pierce. He's got a lot of pent up resentment and anger. And I think that but yet he's also very righteous and principled, which goes against him in an Omega, when you got to focus on your negativity. But Lex Luthor right now in continuity is sort of an anti-hero. He's exploring his good side. He's always been a little bit over the place. So right now, if there's a time where Lex Luthor could be defeated, I would argue that it's right now where Lex Luthor is, not necessarily full evil. The last time we saw him in Joshua Williamson's run, he left Metropolis. He's somewhere in the Arctic now, planning and biding his time. But if Lex Luthor wants to be a good guy right now, and especially if he wants accolades and do something good, that's a weakness in a tournament where you want to build up Omega negative energy. And Jefferson Pierce, arguably, if he feels he's got more to lose, he can be a real badass. So this is another potential wild card that I could see them winning. And especially when Snyder mentioned that in a free-for-all, there's going to be a couple free-for-alls that are going to come into play. I can see just like I think of WWF wrestling or WWE wrestling, where the person you least expected is the final person in the ring. Jefferson Pierce, Black Lightning could be that person. So I got to tell you, so for that reason, this was one of my wild card picks. I'm going with Black Lightning on this one.
I love it. I love you going with Black Lightning. And, as I'm hearing you talk, I'm like, this is making a lot of sense. And he does have electrical-based powers. If Luthor's in his battle armor, could he short the battle armor out? Could he disrupt the power supply for the battle armor? He defeats Luthor by, freezing the battle armor, so he can't move. He doesn't have to do anything. He just shorts it out. Luthor's just kind of stuck encased in this battle armor. Yeah, I like the pick. I like it. I almost want to change mine, but obviously I'm not going to. And in fact, you threw me so much. I already had typed Luthor as your winner. I have to go back and retype that now. So, all right, Steve, who do you got?
First of all, I love how Rocky gave away our age a little bit by referring to the WWF.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That is our generation. It is no longer WWF. It is WWE. However, anyways, I think Lex Luthor, one of his greatest powers is he's so smart. He just knows what to do, when to do it. If he catches anything that he knows who he's up against, he's going to be prepared for this. It's Lex Luthor. And my pick of Lex Luthor is going to come back further down the bracket line. I'll tip you off on that.
All right, great. Well, I love this next matchup because I know Lobo is one of Rocky's favorite characters. but Wonder Woman is one of Rocky's favorite characters as well.
No, you missed
Uh,
one.
We still got
Demon and Supergirl. You skipped
oh,
Demon.
wait. Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at the next round. I'm looking at the next round.
Yeah.
The Demon versus Supergirl. Yeah, Supergirl. I mean, come on. Now, this kudos to DC. At least they put they put the Kryptonian up against a magic user. We know that Superman and Supergirl are vulnerable to magic, so that does factor in. But at the end of the day, I mean, come on, Supergirl. They're always trying to raise Supergirl's profile here, so don't know how she's going to defeat the Demon, but I'm going with Supergirl. But again, I mean, if these people are real and Supergirl is vulnerable to magic, Demon's all about magic. But he's not really a spellcaster, so. But yeah, ultimately, I'm going with Supergirl. What about you, Rocky?
Yeah, if I don't, one of the reasons why I don't, in my own headcanon in approaching this, I didn't want to, if I go down the rabbit hole of editorial too far, I might be inclined to think there's an argument that can be made that this is a Superman story. We don't need two Kryptonians, so have Demon defeat Supergirl. I can see that editorially. On the other hand, I'm going with my heart on this one. I love Supergirl. I love Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I know Tom King's story has been a little divisive in some comic book circles, but I loved it. I love that Kara, Supergirl, has a dark side. She's been a Red Lantern. She knows how to channel her anger. She knows how to channel rage. She's been a Red Lantern. She witnessed the death and destruction of Krypton, not to mention Argo City. She's had her deal of PTSD, of trauma. She's got a lot of pent up anger. I think that she's yet to address or deal with. She's young. She's impetuous somewhat. And if you believe Tom King, I enjoyed Woman of Tomorrow. On her 21st birthday, she went and she got hammered. So she's not, and under James Gunn, she's not afraid to get drunk once in a while with planets under a red sun. So, hey, you know what? To me, that spells a young, rambunctious kid who's not afraid to channel a little bit of darkness once in a while to kick some ass. And the Demon has got dual personality with that Jason and I think that, to me, that dual mentality of the Demon is what would do him in. He's going to spend more time focusing on how to rhyme something than he is on channeling his Omega energy. Supergirl's going to kick his ass.
All right, Steve.
Well, I think is it next year we got the Supergirl movie coming out? Is that? So I mean, editorially, I think that's where we're going to go. But I think once again, if you go to my previous pick of being Lex Luthor, I think this is where I'm kind of almost picking someone that I think is going to make up a great matchup coming into the second bracket. And I mean, a Lex Luthor versus Supergirl. I mean, someone in the super family stepping up against Lex other than Superman. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I hope it happens. And my pick is Supergirl. I mean, come on. She's the bitch. Like, you gotta love her. Like, let's go.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I didn't think about it at the time. It wasn't until I picked, I wasn't thinking about the next round, but then I picked Luthor and then I picked Supergirl and then I saw, oh, wait, so that means they match up in the next round. Wasn't there a story at one point during the Triangle era or a plot thread where they were like dating or something or almost dating or they like, I could swear I remember that from some story at some point. So I could be misremembering. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, that dynamic for sure. Supergirl against Lex Luthor. I think it was like it was when he like cloned himself and he was supposed to be, Lex Luthor Jr. and he had hair or whatever. And I could swear that Supergirl dated that iteration. And then, we found out later it was actually Lex. So anyway, up next, Wonder Woman versus Starro. Okay. So here's one. This is a total editorial, like Starro, planet sized, universal conqueror Starro. Like, yeah, if Starro's real, he defeats Wonder Woman, no problem. He could just send an unending number of his little, Starro seeds, and eventually one is going to get through Wonder Woman's defenses, attached to her face, and take over her mind. I don't see how Wonder Woman possibly defeats Starro. That being said, I can't wait to see how editorial or the writer that gets assigned that makes Wonder Woman defeat Starro, because there's no way that they're going to let Wonder Woman go out in the first round. So, and again, I want Wonder Woman to win as much as so this is one where my heart and what I think editorial to do matches up. But like the reality of it is if these creatures or people were real, then I think Starro wins. But at the end of the day, yeah, I'm picking Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
What about you, Rocky?
Yeah, this is a no-brainer for me. First of all, I respectfully disagree with editorial. I don't think Starro should be a contestant.
I agree with that.
I think it's a really dumb. I think it's a missed opportunity. First of all, there are some matchups with Wonder Woman winning this. The future matchups that Wonder Woman could have in this series could be epic. Putting her against Starro is a joke. It's pathetic. It's not even a big deal. Who cares if you beat Starro? And I realize he's super powerful. I realize it's the first appearance at Justice League, and I realize it's mind control. Starro was in the Suicide Squad movie. You can come up with an editorial or a corporate reason to have him in it. I get it. I think that was purely corporate driven. For him being here in the first place. But I disagree with it respectfully. My Purian fanboy, I'm going to choose Wonder Woman alone. I'm not a fan of Starro. I would have liked to have seen Jarro. Why not make it Jarro? It would have been more interesting. You know, Scott Snyder's run. That would have been, at least make it, I don't know, kind of funny. But in any event, I got to go with Wonder Woman on a whole slew of multiple reasons, because I just think Starro's not human. And this deals with being able to channel your inner darkness. And Wonder Woman as an Amazon, she's a warrior. She's a peaceful warrior. The struggle for Wonder Woman is that she's got to eliminate the peaceful aspect of her warrior nature and focus on the warrior. I think she can do that. Starro is screwed.
I love that you're so focused on that they have to sort of tap into the negative side. I didn't factor that in at all. But it's totally,
that's my headcanon. That's how I view it.
Yeah, it's totally legitimate. And I kind of agree with you. Like, Starro is not a good choice for this, but on the other hand, it might be a situation where who's ever writing this story that has Wonder Woman against Starro came up with a really fucking cool idea. And so that's why they went with it. So, yeah. I'll reserve judgment and say, hey, this might end up being a really cool matchup if it's like a great idea of how Wonder Woman defeats Starro. But yeah, on paper, this looks this looks so lopsided in Starro's favor. But we all know that Wonder Woman's going to, at least I think we all are going to pick Wonder Woman. Steve?
Well, I mean, this was the first matchup. When I looked at this, I thought, like, what are they thinking bringing this character? I mean, right now you got a Peacemaker series that's flying on all cylinders. You have a Green Lantern series that's flying on all cylinders. You have a Green Arrow series that's flying on. I mean, I get it. There's a Green Arrow on the other side of the bracket, but I really struggle why editorial went with Starro. And it almost starts to make me think, what if this is the big upset? What if this is the one that people are all going to throw their hands up in the air and be like, no way. And I mean, I go back to looking at I remember the Justice League it's iconic art, and you have the whole Justice League working together to take down Starro. And I mean, Wonder Woman's only one part of that. And to have her go through is crazy. However, I side on the error of editorial, and I'm picking Wonder Woman as well. I don't know what Starro's doing here personally, other than perhaps they've got something that's going to happen further down the road with Starro.
Yeah, I mean like, could you imagine if they're like, all right, forget all you fans, Starro takes it all. At the end of the day, Starro versus Darkseid.
Just tossing them out there, right? Like, who knows, I mean, right?
It would actually make sense. I mean, when you look at all of the contestants that are in these brackets, like, the argument could be made that Starro is the most powerful, maybe Superman, but again, the argument could be made legitimately. It could be that Starro is actually the most powerful when, in terms of, like, the guy, like you just said, Steve, like, it takes the entire Justice League to beat him. So if we're looking at everybody kind of on their own here, who's actually powerful enough to go up against Darkseid? And your argument could be, well, Starro. It's kind of like, he's not so dissimilar from Galactus, over in the Marvel universe, where he's almost not even a character. He's almost just like a force of nature in a way, you know? So anyway, all that being said, we all picked Wonder Woman. So
and I even tossed around the idea, well, what if Starro does make it through, but with Wonder Woman as being his host or something along those lines, and down the road he gets beat in a different bracket, and bringing Wonder Woman back, you know. But however, I'm not going to think theoretically. I've got to pick one person that's going to go through, and that's why I settle on Wonder Woman. But I do think this is going to be the big. I thought Starro might push through, but like I said, perhaps DC has intentions for this character, and it's great to see him back in the lineup. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, Lobo versus Plastic Man. Here's another one where I'm going with my head instead of my heart. I love Plastic Man, but we know we have a Lobo movie coming with Jason Momoa. Plus, I just think that more people are interested. Plastic Man, I love that he's actually in this. He had a recent series by Christopher Cantwell, which was great. I think he's an underrated and underutilized character. I would love to see him defeat, especially Lobo. But, you know, to borrow Rocky's argument about how, you know, if they want to channel your inner darkness, Plastic Man, despite the fact that he started his career as a criminal, he doesn't really have much darkness in him. He's much more goofy. You know, that Cantwell series to the contrary, where he did get a little dark. But yeah, I gotta go with Lobo. And Lobo is a character I don't really care for at all. So this is going definitely. This was probably, in terms of going against who I want to win, this is probably my number one, where I'm picking the person that I don't want to win over the Guy Gardner pick or the Power Girl pick. It's having to pick Lobo over Plastic Man, but I just don't see, you know, especially if we're talking about being ruthless. I don't see how Plastic Man defeats Lobo, unfortunately. So that's my pick, or Lobo rather, over Plastic Man. So what do you got, Rocky?
Well, I'll be honest. If I know I'm sounding a little bit schizophrenic here and maybe contradictory to what my earlier comments were, but I actually, in my heart of hearts, I do believe Plastic Man is one of the most powerful heroes in the DC universe. I think, and I harken back, and I'm going to steal a line from Batman when I say that, because Batman himself at one point, I don't know if it was during Morrison's Justice League run or what have you, but he pointed out that there's something about Plastic Man. He's uber powerful, but it's Plastic Man's own. Plastic Man is his own. It's his own personality that prevents him from really going full uber powerful. And but at the end of the day, even though if this was a different scenario, I would go with Plastic Man, quite frankly. But there's no way the editorial, the movies, the Lobo, and the next round, Lobo's going to face Wonder Woman in the next round. Nobody wants to see Plastic Man fight Wonder Woman. I guarantee you, I want to see Wonder Woman and Lobo fight. And that's not going to happen if Plastic Man wins. There's no way, man. Wonder Woman and Lobo on a throwdown, that would be epic. And for that reason alone, and I know it's kind of cheating, but it's my choice. It's my headcanon. It's my bias here. I want to see Wonder Woman versus Lobo, and that's only going to happen if Plastic Man gets his ass kicked. And Lobo, the main man, the Zarnarian, he's gonna stretch Plastic Man beyond his limits. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, same thing. I never looked at the matchups for the next round till, you know, and I never went back and changed any of my initial picks either. But this one's much similar to Lex Luthor versus Supergirl. You know, once I made the pick and then looked at who that made, you know, what matchup that made in the next round, I was like, oh yeah, that just kind of reinforced my pick. So what about you, Steve? Are you on the Lobo train?
I'm just going to go right out there and say it. Lobo's going through. But I'm gonna backtrack a little bit here. I think this is, so we get K.O. coming out, and I think Lobo versus Plastic Man is the first issue to this whole series. If I'm right, am I right with that? I think they've already, in the solicitations have already started showing us that we're getting a Lobo versus Plastic Man.
Oh, cool.
And if this is the first book coming out of the gate, I mean, they got to be firing on all cylinders for this thing to keep moving forward. So I think in my mind, Lobo just beats the heck out of Plastic Man. I don't think it's even a contest. However, I think this is where we're going to see something happen in the issue where Plastic Man is actually going to put up one heck of a fight. I don't think it's going to be as, like, in my mind, it's Lobo. But I think when I start getting into those pages, I think Plastic Man is going to almost pull away with the victory. However, Lobo is just Lobo. Editorially, we know what's coming out next year. It's got to be Lobo. And quite frankly, I'm with Rocky. I can't wait to see Wonder Woman versus Lobo. But I think this one's going to be a little bit closer than what I think. But I'm going with Lobo.
Yep, I agree. I mean, I'd love for it to be closer than I think it will be, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. All right, this is another toss-up for me. Swamp Thing versus Vixen. Interesting matchup based on what their power sets are. I feel like, obviously, probably more people know who Swamp Thing is based on, multimedia. He's had a movie. He's had a streaming series and what have you. But I feel like just within the confines of the DC universe, within the comics, I feel like their power levels are sort of similar in a way. I mean, Swamp Thing could theoretically get away easier than Vixen can because, he can just transport himself across the planet or what have you through the Parliament of Trees, through the green, whatever. But in terms of like who has a higher profile and who editorial wants to win, like, yeah, again, total toss up for me. I could see Vixen winning. I could see Swamp Thing winning, but ultimately I went with Swampy. And I don't really have a particular reason. I don't have an affinity for one of these characters over the other. So again, this was a little bit of a toss-up for me. And I went with Swamp Thing for no reason I can articulate. It just was like, I got to pick one. I'm going with Swamp Thing. What about you, Rocky?
Yeah, I gotta say, this was just to let me defend Vixen for a second. Swamp Thing is the green, which represents all of nature. Think of the entire earth, Mother Nature. Mother Nature can be wonderful and beautiful and create a beautiful sunny day. It can also create, unbelievable hurricanes and destructive earthquakes, and it can be destructive. And the green can have a connection with that. Vixen embodies the red. She has a connection to the animals. Now, with animals, we know animals have a survival instinct. They will adapt. We know in the animal kingdom, outside humanity, forget about humans, she can access animals. Animals will do whatever it takes to survive. And they can access some serious darkness. And so if anybody could channel Omega energy, arguably more than even Mother Nature, than the green, I think Vixen could do it. This is another potential. I struggled with this. This is one of my most difficult choices because now, and again, I don't like bringing sort of like quasi politics into this, but if ever there was a mix up, she's a diverse character. She's awesome. She's Vixen is hot. So she caters to the Purian fanboy in me. She's hot. She's sexy as hell. She is a person of color, and she's, I think she's got potential, but I'm sorry. At the end of the day, Swamp Thing is the entire planet. Vixen is just, she's still smaller scale. She always thinks in terms of individual animals, not the whole animal kingdom. Although her weapon, if the Vixen's weapon is somehow amplifies her powers in some capacity.
A lawnmower?
Yeah. Yeah.
A weed whacker?
Yeah. I don't know. But I just think she's I got to go with Swamp. I went with Swamp Thing because at the end of the day, it just, the green is simply too powerful, and so I went with Swamp Thing.
Okay, I have the ultimate weapon for Vixen in this matchup. She's got one of those Roundup sprayers, those they buy them at the hardware store. You pump it, and it has the wand, and she's just spraying Swamp Thing with the weed killer.
Yeah.
Hilarious. All right, Steve, what do you got?
Well, I mean, Vixen was one character on this bracket that I'm not overly familiar with. And so before I could make my choice, I really needed to read up on that character. And when you start diving and reading up on her capabilities and what's involved there, I thought it was very interesting that DC would. We know what's going on with Aquaman, right? We know we got the power of the blue over there. Now we're interested in the power of the green. We got the power of the red. And I thought it was interesting, first of all, that they decided to take those powers and right off the bat throw them against each other. Um, I've I've read a lot of Swamp Thing. I really like the character, but doing a deep dive into Vixen, I mean, holy crap! And I'm going with Vixen, but I really encourage other DC readers, and I think it's events like this where people are going to go into their comic stores and they're going to see this character and they're going to pick up this book because they love Swamp Thing. They're going to read the pages and they're going to be like, holy crap, who is this? And they're going to go back and they're going to find those back issues and they're going to do the deep dive. And and I hope they fall in love with this character, because honestly, just doing a little bit of a deep dive, I'm a fan. And I really hope that that people do get behind this character. I was really impressed with what I came across, and I'm going with Vixen.
Interesting.
All right, good
Awesome.
pick. It is interesting that they chose to put the green against the red, and in the first round.
Absolutely.
And I'm thinking, more people think more when they think about the avatar of the red, they think more of Animal Man, especially because Grant Morrison had that acclaimed run, which I couldn't read. I tried to read it, it just wasn't for me. I wonder if more people would pick Animal Man over Swamp Thing as opposed to Vixen over Swamp Thing. I think I still would go with Swamp Thing even over Animal Man. But what if it was Animal Man, Rocky? Would you still go with Swamp Thing?
You know what? I think I actually would. To be honest with you, I did think of that, and I wanted to give Vixen. I wanted to throw her a bone a little bit, to be honest with you, because I think I'm not an expert on Vixen. I know I've read a lot of DC, but I'm not an expert on Vixen. I think that in many ways, Animal Man and Vixen, arguably, I don't know if I could sit here and tell you exactly how different their power set is, to be honest with you. I'm not an expert on either of them. I've read a little bit more Animal Man than Vixen, but
Yeah, their powers do seem very similar.
yeah, I'm glad they went with Vixen. Actually, you make a very good point, Jace. They probably went with Vixen because Vixen was, frankly, she's female, she's hot, she's a person of color, and it's better than Animal Man, because Animal Man would be kind of redundant, and he's, so I think Vixen was the right choice here. And I love Steve's choice because he could be 100% right. This is one of those scenarios where I got no problem being wrong on some of these picks, but at the end of the day, my final pick is going to be the victor.
Yeah, I almost want to change mine to Vixen too, because the more I think about it, and I'm hearing Steve talk,
Sorry. I mean,
yeah.
Don't do it, because then I get the points. You get the minus.
No, I'm not.
I win the bracket.
Changing. Yeah, I'm not changing that. It's that whole thing, like go with your first instinct. I'm sticking with Swamp Thing, but I didn't think that I cared which one won, and then after hearing all of us give our reasoning, now I think I want Vixen more than Swamp Thing, but I'm going to stick with Swamp Thing. All right, up next we have Cyborg versus Batwoman. This is another one that I could see going either way. I like Batwoman as a character just slightly more than Cyborg, but not enough to really make that the reason for picking her. It's that, I think, coupled with, it's been a while since she's had a series. Cyborg, I think, has a higher profile, being, especially in the Teen Titans Go, with this old booyah. So I think editorial would probably want Batwoman to win more, for that mercenary reason Rocky's been talking about. She's a person that's, she's queer. So, speaks to those, kind of that audience and what have you. Plus, it's about time, I feel like, for her to come back in her own solo series. She had I think a 4 or 5 part story in the Batman Urban Legends anthology series that ran a few years ago, and it left things open for her to have a series. I thought we were going to get one, and we didn't. So maybe this is, a character who has a series come out of it. So yeah, I'm going with Batwoman rather. I'm going with Kate Kane. I think she defeats Cyborg, but again, to me, in terms of power level, yeah, I think maybe Cyborg might have the slight edge power level, but it's not overwhelming. it's one of those ones where no matter who wins this fight, it's not going to be one like, well, that's not believable or what have you. I could really see it going either way, but yeah, I'm going to go with Batwoman. What about you, Rocky?
Yeah. I at the end of the day, I went with Batwoman. This is one fight where I actually didn't. I cared the least about this. I didn't like these choices. I wouldn't have chosen these players to be part of this tournament, to be honest with you. I didn't. This is just a matchup that I could have. I could care less about. I could have chosen two random characters, completely different characters that aren't on the list that I would have replaced Cyborg and Batwoman with. But I understand editorially and for maybe corporate reasons why they were both chosen. And also, given the plot line of dealing, I mean, both Batwoman and Cyborg have got some serious dysfunctional issues in their past. Cyborg, grounded in his identity and his dysfunctional relationship with his father. And of course, there's that man versus machine. How that plays into Omega energy and, AI. I mean, Cyborg is an interesting. He can incorporate what does AI or computer knowledge or computer background or AI technology? How does that How does that interplay with Omega energy? That might be an interesting little thing that might allow editorial for story wise to delve into. In that case, that gives Cyborg an edge. Batwoman, on the other hand, at the end of the day, I did go with Batwoman for the simple reason that I think she's a wild card pick for me because I think under 90% of the time I give it to Cyborg. I do. But I'm giving it to Batwoman, and I know it's a little bit of a cheat, but I don't care. It's my headcanon. It's my choice. I give it to Batwoman because I'm not going to be too friendly to other members of the Bat family, which I think are overrepresented on this list, which we'll get to be very blunt. And so that's a little hint of spoiler alert for things to come on my end. But so I went with Batwoman.
Man, you and I have every pick the same but one. So I'm glad we brought Steve in to give us some diversity. But I'll let Steve make his pick, and then I'm gonna pitch who should have possibly. You said neither one of these should really have been here. I kind of agree, and I have a matchup that I would have liked to have seen instead. But anyway, give us your pick first, Steve, before I do that.
So when I went first to this matchup, you kind of, oh man, and like I said, I'm kind of choosing on the side of editorial. And so then I looked at these brackets. I mean, we got Cyborg versus Batwoman. Then we look at the bracket below it. We got Batman versus Sapphire. Oh, let's look the next bracket below that. Oh, we got Red Hood and Damian Wayne. Holy crap. We're throwing all the Bat family in bracket to bracket to bracket to bracket. I was like, one of these Bat people are going to make it through. And some of them are not. And with that being said, I mean, I'm kind of foreshadowing what's going to happen on my next bracket, but I really only think truly one of these Bat people are going to make it through, and it's not going to be Batwoman. It's going to be Cyborg. And I really think editorially, I think we've got this Omega energy. We've got, like Rocky said, we have an AI construct. How does that evolve? How does that look in the DC universe going forward? I think Cyborg is such an interesting pick for them to push forward. And also, I mean, I don't think you guys pick Cyborg. So, I mean, it's bonus points for me, right, baby? Let's go, Cyborg.
You'll see.
Cyborg, yeah, fair enough. I mean, again, I could easily see it being Cyborg. I wouldn't be upset if it was Cyborg. So yeah, but to my earlier point of, yeah, I would love to have seen these replaced by two other characters. What if it had been Crypto, the super dog, versus Dexter? The Red Lantern cat. Dog versus cat. That would have been fantastic.
Well, doesn't Supergirl got a cat in her new series?
Yeah, Streaky.
Yeah, Streaky could have been.
Could
have been Crypto. Could have been Crypto versus Streaky, but those are both heroes. I think it would have been more interesting to have
Dexter.
Dexter, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, up next, Batman versus Sapphire. So this is one where I'm picking I have a specific reason for picking this the way that I'm picking it, and I'm going with Star Sapphire, and the reason I'm doing that is because I think editorial has an idea so Batman loses in the first round, but then he goes and does something else that's critical to the DC K.O. story. He goes on some kind of secret mission or has to go and do something that only Batman's going to be able to do, and he can't do that if he's still involved in the tournament. So as much as I think, so many people will be like, no, Batman has to win. Batman has to win. And also, I do kind of think this may be one of those ones where, yeah, Star Sapphire doesn't beat him on a head-to-head. Maybe this is one of those free-for-all things where Star Sapphire comes out ahead. And Batman purposely allows himself to lose or not advance so he can go do this other thing that's like super uber important. So anyway, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but some alarms going off over here. I think probably from my daughter's iPad. So I'm going to go turn that off while Rocky gives us his pick and reasoning for Batman versus Star Sapphire.
I mean, look, I struggled with this. I actually believe that if ever there was a wild card aspect to this, I don't see Batman going far in this tournament. Straight up. I just don't see him going very far in this tournament for the reasons that you already stated, Jace. And the reality is that Star Sapphire is an interesting choice because allow me to get a little bit, dare I say, a little misogynist here, and with apologies to the female audience, the four of you that probably will be listening or watching. I'll just say this, that, Star Sapphire represents love, or at a minimum, maybe infatuation. And they say there's a fine line between love and hate. And while I don't actually believe that, not when it's pure love, when it comes to Carol Ferris, Star Sapphire, I think that having a boyfriend like Hal Jordan, a guy who is clearly pansexual and has had likely relations with numerous aliens all around the galaxy, I think she's got a lot of pent-up resentment. She's just primed to release some Omega energy to access it. Star Sapphire is going to be, she's real badass. So I can see her kicking Batman's ass. But at the end of the day, I went with Batman. Because I went with Batman just because I'm not going to say Batman's going to survive the next round, but this one he will. I think that editorial has to have Batman survive the first round. So I did go with Batman in this one, and I went with it reluctantly. I want Star Sapphire to win, but sometimes I got to go with my gut, and I'm going with Batman on this one.
All right. Break the tie there, Steve. Who do you got?
I can't not go with Batman. I mean, come on. This guy sits in his Batcave and he thinks about all these things all the time, right? I'm sure he's already thought about a KO event. He's already thought about, what do I need to do to win this? Should this happen? Should that happen? Batman has thought of it all. I mean, you go back, you read what was just released, the Batman issue #1. I love how they go back to his detective roots. He is analyzing. He's thinking things through. He's always pondering, how do I get through to this? How do I do this? How do I do that? But he's always has the answer at the end of the day. And I don't see how you could even think a Star Sapphire going through, because Batman already knows the outcome to everything, right? And to knock him out in the first round, holy moly! Could you imagine the outcry? People would start buying Marvel. Holy moly!
No,
right?
He loses again. He loses on purpose in the first round because he has to go do something else that's more important.
Batman is going through. Batman is going through.
Oh boy!
All right,
Okay.
I can't wait for Batman to lose. I'll have that bracket. Neither one of you guys will have it. That's great.
We shall see.
All right, just a couple more picks left here in the first round. Red Hood versus Damian Wayne. Purely on who I like more, I would go with Red Hood. But I think both editorial wise and who would actually win is Damian Wayne. So as much as I don't care much for the character, although I have come around on him, I think he's been handled really well in the last few years by Joshua Williamson and Philip Kennedy Johnson. So he's less unlikable as a character. But yeah, I'm going with Damian. What about you, Rocky?
Well, I respect that choice that you made, Jace, and I did choose Batman on the battle above, and a battle between Batman and Damian would, I think, be emotionally driven, and I think that if ever Batman was going to lose, he would lose to Damian, because I think that if Batman was going to throw it, and I use your own logic with that. I don't disagree with your logic that Batman might intentionally take himself out of the tournament, uh, with the full knowledge that his son, who can arguably access the darkness better than he can, I can see Batman not feeling bad losing to his own son, and so
And that makes a lot of sense.
right,
You're probably
right.
right.
And
Yeah.
I think editorially, but that's not my pick. Editorially, I agree it makes total sense that Damian should win. But at the end of the day, and I know I'm an outlier, it might be an outlier in this, I just think at the end of the day, and I know Damian was raised by assassins, and I know that he's killed, and I know he's had villains in his basement in jail. I mean, Damian has been a really screwed up kid in multiple ways. We can look at all the stuff he's done. But at the end of the day, Jason Todd was killed by the Joker with a crowbar. And he's got resentment. And the battle between Jason Todd and Batman, what I think would be just as epic. And I think Red Hood, at the end of the day, is unlike Damian, who appears to be moving more and more toward his father's sensibilities. The Red Hood, I personally view him as moving farther and farther away. And I think he's got a new series coming out. I've read the first issue already. I think Red Hood is a little bit more in tune with the darkness. He's got a more comfortable relationship with his darker side than even Damian, I would argue. And for that reason, that's going to give him the edge with Damian. Plus, he's got the experience over Damian's so-called training when he was younger. I know it's an outlier pick, but I'm going with Jason Todd.
Well, I thought it made so much sense to have father versus son, and that's why he would lose. You had me. I was like, oh, okay, and then you switched up and went Red Hood. I mean, again, I'm glad you did, because I think Damian wins that matchup. But now that leaves it open for Steve to pick Damian and have Batman lose to his son.
Well, I'm going to be honest. It's Red Hood, but after listening to Rocky, I'm like, holy man, how did I go with Red Hood? I should have.
I mean, I did look at that. I was like, man.
I want to read Damian versus Batman.
I talked myself out of an ally. What?
I mean, we all know that Superman would lay everything down on the ground for humanity, right? And we're not too sure if Batman would do that. Probably not. But in this scenario, would he? And man, that's a good question. Like, Rocky really got me thinking. I mean, I've got my paper in front of me here, and it's Red Hood is in ink. But I'm telling you, I'm struggling with this one now after listening to Rocky's comments. Holy crap! Like, I'm kind of like
Red Hood.
I mean, oh man, he brings up
I'm
some
right
really
there with
good
you.
points.
I'm like, I picked Star Sapphire. I'm not changing it, but yeah, it would make more sense if Batman's going to lose on purpose to have him lose against Damian.
Oh, and I came here today thinking like I just put my pick down and have a swig here and have a good time with you fellas. But now this is tough, boy. This is really tough.
You got to pick.
I mean, it's already in ink. I got to go with Red Hood.
All right, stick with Red Hood.
It's like you go to Vegas, you might question some of your decisions, but you're going to make one, you stick to it. I put Red Hood down. That's what I'm sticking with.
Yeah, this next one, toss up. I like both these characters. I could see either one of them winning. I went with Zatanna. I love Barda. To me, there's no wrong answer here. No matter who advances, it's good because I like both these characters. So yeah, I went back and forth, and I was like, well, theoretically, Zatanna can attack from a distance. Barda's got to get up close. So yeah, I went with Zatanna. What about you, Rocky?
I went with Barda. Now look, this is a matchup that I absolutely love. I'm a Pyrian fanboy. I love By the way, as a quick aside, I don't. You know what? I glanced over the solicitations. I don't even know who the artist is going to be when these match up, but I hope they know how to draw sexy women with large chests and sexy legs, because this is a Pyrian fanboy's dream. Zatanna fighting Big Barda. I mean, to the death. I mean, these are all to the death. Snyder did say that there's not necessarily going to be a lot of blood and guts. They want to keep it kind of like PG violence, but yet suggestive of obviously lethal force. I get all that. But man, I love this Zatanna and Barda. I love Barda. I thank you to Kelly Thompson that she's made me through Birds of Prey love Big Barda even more. Also, thank you to Tom King, made me love Big Barda even with his Mr. Miracle series, which I loved. And Zatanna is hot. Marika Tamaki did a great Zatanna series. So did Campbell. Was it Josie? Not Campbell. Who is the one artist? The last Zatanna series. Anyways,
Jamal Campbell.
Jamal Campbell, thank you. It was Campbell. But anyways, this is a fantastic team up. And this is such a difficult decision for me because Big Barda was raised on Apocalypse. I mean, anybody who's familiar with Apocalypse, raised on Apocalypse, the origins of Omega Energy, Big Barda almost seems like a no-brainer. But the thing is with Zatanna, she's magic. And you never know what that woman is going to say backwards that's going to ruin your day. And how does magic intermingle with Omega Energy? We just don't know. This is a writer's dream. It's a central conceit that if you want to know who's better than one other character, well, the standard answer, as Stan Lee said, was it depends on who's writing it. Obviously, that's the case here. But at the end of the day, oh my God. I probably fantasize about the fishnets and Zatanna more with that magician's hat. But at the end of the day, I actually think Big Barda is going to pick up Zatanna, squish her, and shove her into her magician's hat. And I think it's going to be brutal. But I got to give it to Big Barda.
All right, fair enough. What about you, Steve? What do you got?
Have they announced who's drawing this?
No.
Because I kind of sympathize with... I mean, my goodness. The artist that's been put onto this book, hallelujah. And I hope they do us justice.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I agree. Someone's been exposed. They've been on the planet. They know what. I mean, they got the inside scoop. It's Barda. I mean, that's who I'm pushing through.
All right, fair enough. I mean, again, I won't be sad if Barda wins. It was a bit of a toss-up for me. Now, this next one, last one in the first round, Harley Quinn versus Metamorpho. It's another one where I go, man, if these people were real, and who do I want it's Metamorpho all day long, but I just can't see DC putting Harley Quinn out in the first round because she's just too popular. I mean, this is a character that, supposedly has no superpowers, but managed to escape from all three of the Trinity in the pages of Heroes and Sanctuary, which was just completely ridiculous. So they can make Harley do whatever they want Harley to do. I would love to see Metamorpho advance. Metamorpho, obviously his profile is as high as it's ever been with his appearance in the Superman movie. But even that, he still doesn't hold a candle to the popularity that Harley Quinn has. So this one's purely based on, popularity and who I think editorial will want to advance. And it makes a lot of sense for the next round as well, with the way it all plays out. So I'm going with Harley as much as I hope she loses, to be honest. I don't even mind if I get this one wrong if it means Harley goes out in the first round and Metamorpho advances. Who do you have, Rocky?
Straight up, I went with Metamorpho. Straight up, I've fallen out of love with Harley Quinn. My iteration of Harley, she's evil. She should be written evil. Or at a minimum, even if she's like sort of a goofy kind of evil, but she always sides with the Joker. I respectfully disagree with this interpretation and this iteration that DC has embraced. I disagree with the iteration of which the cartoon is based on. I disagree with their comic book approach in their mainstream DC universe, which is sort of out of continuity and focused on comedy. That's not who Harley Quinn is. I'm more of a fan of Harley when she's with the Suicide Squad, where she's not afraid. Harley Quinn in her darkest era, she's not afraid to work for Amanda Waller. and she's not afraid of having a bomb in her head that will explode at any moment. She's schizophrenic. But yet at the end of the day, she seems to flip flop too much at DC. If she was written the way that I selfishly want her to be written in my headcanon, I would say she would kick Metamorpho's ass, because if anybody can flip on a dime in her head to become psychotic and embrace Omega, all the negativity of the Omega energy, as I view that in my headcanon, I would go with Harley, but I can't. She's been too inconsistently written, and I know this is a crazy reason, but at the end of the day, Harley hasn't earned it. She hasn't earned my respect in the mainstream continuity. She hasn't earned my respect story-wise. She hasn't earned it. She hasn't earned it in the pages of DC Comics over the last, frankly, 10 years, with the possible exception of the one series where she was, with the one Batman series. I can't remember the name. In any event, I digress. I got to go with Metamorpho, and simply because they want to Metamorpho. I love this series by Al Ewing. I thought it was fantastic. I loved Metamorpho in the Superman movie. I'm going with Metamorpho for the win.
Wow. That's 4 in a row that we diverge on. I mean, I hope you're right. Like I said, I wouldn't mind getting this one wrong if it means Harley doesn't advance. So anyway, Steve, who do you have?
This is the one matchup where I looked at the bracket and I thought to myself, I get it why Harley Quinn is there, but could they have not put a better villain in that position? I'll be frank, I am not a Harley Quinn fan. And I really struggle with how much I really do feel like DC uses that character to kind of like, I mean, Marvel does it too with their characters where, you have a fan base and you're just going to keep feeding it down someone's throat. But I struggle with this one, and I'm just not a fan. I think there was better choices that DC could have put in other than Harley Quinn that would have made this matchup better. I also go back and I think about what's happening in the cinematic universe and what we have had there. I'm going with Metamorpho. I really enjoy the character. I think he's an interesting pick going forward with other brackets. Harley Quinn, if someone in DC land or world is listening, I'm just not a big fan. So, or I think that is, I mean, I can go back up to the top Starro. I mean, at first I was like, but I love it. I love seeing Starro in this bracket. I come down to Harley Quinn. This is the one bracket that I really think DC, out of all the villains you could have thrown someone in there, you went with Harley Quinn, and it just kind of blows my mind a little bit. I think you could have picked someone a little better to the fan base that's kind of been reading for a little bit longer than that. So,
yeah, look at these picks. So interesting with, Rocky and I having like the first 6 the same, and then back and forth on a few, and then the last 4 are all different. But you and Rocky have the last 4 all the same, which means you and I have just so weird. So we'll move on to round 2. Obviously now we get into completely different matchups because we don't always pick the same people. But before we do that, I want to kind of ask everybody out there in the audience. I hate doing this. I've never done it before. I've never charged for my content or what have you, but had a really huge unexpected expense come up in my life with a car repair. I was planning on going to New York Comic Con. I don't know that I can afford to go now. So I'm still not charging for any content. I'm not opening a Patreon or whatever, but I'm just opening it up. I'm going to put my PayPal address down in the show notes. If you've been listening at all during the past 14 years and gotten any enjoyment, I mean, even $1 or $2 helps out if you want to donate and help defray that cost. And if you want to be sure that I'm get a chance to go to New York Comic Con and produce content from New York Comic Con, get interviews and all that kind of stuff, I'd really appreciate anything anybody can give. Hopefully I'm still going to be able to find a way to go. But yeah, having to spend an extra $3,000 out of nowhere, I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, that blew my whole New York Comic Con budget. So Again, I really appreciate everybody. I hate having to ask, but as I said, I've been doing this for 14 years, never charged, never asked before. And I was just going to cancel my trip. And then somebody's like, well, why don't you do this? Because you never have before. Never done advertising, never put anything behind a paywall. So again, I'm going to put a link in the show notes to my PayPal if you want to go there and donate a few bucks. I mean, if everybody that typically watches our DC Spotlights just gave like $5, I'd make it no problem. So anyway, moving on to the second round, and we're going to switch it up. Rocky's going to go first now. He's got Superman versus Power Girl based on his previous picks. So who do you have, Rocky, in round 2, match 1, Superman versus Power Girl?
Yeah, sorry. I'm just, yeah. So, this is one where I just want to, I just want to double check here because, yeah, okay. This is one I struggled with. And it's really frustrating to me because, this is one where if I actually think that if anybody has, this is one where the sort of I've got so many conflicting things because, and this is where being a lifetime, I've been collecting comics for so long. I struggle with the editorial versus my own headcanon versus my own biases and everything else. I went with Superman on this. Even though I think that I actually think if I was sitting there in a courtroom and somebody was making an argument, I think Power Girl should win. I think she should win this. She really should. But at the end of the day, Superman has, I think I've always underestimated Superman's willpower. I know when we think of willpower, we think of Hal Jordan. We think of Green Lantern. We might think of Guy Gardner or what have you. But at the end of the day, Superman always finds a way. And I know that Batman is always associated with that. But there's something about Superman. He's relentless. He does not stop. There's so much in common that Superman has in favor with Batman. But at the end of the day, Superman needs to win. Superman is the North Star of the DC universe. I mean, I got my absolute edition of Doomsday Clock here, people. Superman is the North Star. And at the end of the day, that has to give him an edge a little bit. So I gotta go with Superman. But man, I love Kara. And by the way, I view her as Karen Starr, not Paige. She's Karen Starr. But I gotta go with Superman at the end of the day. It's that Doomsday Clock influence of Superman that Doomsday Clock may or may not be part of continuity. I think it is. Snyder has referenced it. I know it's a little wonky in the DC universe right now, but I gotta go with Superman.
All right. Steve, who do you got? Superman versus Captain Atom is your matchup.
So my second bracket here is I got Superman versus Captain Atom, and I don't think in the pages of one book is going to be enough for these two characters. Now I don't have a book like Doomsday to pull out and talk about Superman. I came wearing Superman. He is going to pull through. Superman's going to the next round.
Yeah, so my matchup is also Superman versus Power Girl. Again, it's a no-brainer. We're still in the summer of Superman, maybe the fall of Superman now, autumn of Superman. Yeah, to me, this is a no-brainer. Superman versus Power Girl. I disagree with Rocky. I don't think it would be close. I don't think an argument could be made. The only argument you could make, and this might be what you meant, Rocky, is, yeah, in terms of who's got more of a Omega energy personality, then yeah, Power Girl has a little bit more of an edge to her. She has a little bit more negative energy to her than Superman, who's more pure of heart. So yeah, I go with Superman as well. But you had something else you're gonna mention?
Well, I was gonna just chime in because you look at the previous. We all know Superman. Mark Waid has done the best ever with Superman and how he characterizes that character and I'll be honest. I went into the field. I went with my work because of reading this character and his moral beliefs and his system that he places in front of him. And I think having Captain Atom beat Power Girl in the bracket below gives him that motivation to push through Captain Atom. I really think this bracket for me would be one of the most interesting books DC could have put out in a long time, with Superman and Captain Atom. But I think with that motivation, knowing that Captain Atom beat Power Girl previously, that gives him the motivation to push through and go on to the next round in the bracket.
Fair enough. All right, up next, Rocky, you have Guy Gardner versus Cheetah. Who do you got coming out on top?
Yeah, I really love this one. I really love this one because I deal with my if I'm let me see if I got this right here. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I went with Cheetah on this one because at the end of the day, I think that I think Guy Gardner at the end of the day. Let me. I sort of I gave Guy Gardner an underhanded compliment earlier because he's a character I've always disliked, but he's the guy that I want in my corner. But even though he's the guy I want in my corner in a fight, he's also the guy that I would be the first to acknowledge, in my view, that he's the first guy in a fight. He thinks he's stronger than he is. Guy Gardner thinks he's stronger than he is, and and frankly. He's got a narcissistic tendency and an arrogance about him that bodes well in a fight. But Cheetah would absolutely decimate him. He would think wrongly that he's got a chance. He would think that this is just going to be some angry woman, another angry woman. Oh, well, look, it's another woman that I pissed off. It's Cheetah. Not a big deal. I'll just take her out with my power ring. No, Guy. You're going to get decimated. You're going to get eaten. You're going to get clawed. You're going to get absolutely obliterated. And I love that. And I can't wait to see it. And it's going to happen. Cheetah would eat him for lunch. You know, she's possessed by that cat god Ishkataga or whatever it is. But frankly, even if Cheetah wasn't possessed by an evil cat god, she would still eviscerate him. Why? Because he's Guy Gardner. And that's my headcanon. That's what I'm going with. Cheetah all the way.
All right. Guy Gardner versus Jay Garrick on your slate there, Steve. Who do you got?
I mean, he's got a ring on his finger. Do we need to say it? I mean, the guy... And once again, I think I'm going to pull back to what does editorial want, right? I mean, if you look at the bracket that I picked that's pushing through, we got Superman pushing through. We got Guy Gardner in the movies. We kind of felt a little bit of tension between Superman and Guy Gardner in James Gunn's Superman. And to see that come and a battle come out between the two of them in the live pages of comic book history, heck yeah, I'm in for that. And I think Guy Gardner's pushing through. He's my pick. Guy Gardner over Jay Garrick.
Yeah, I'm going with Guy Gardner as well. And yeah, I mean, he's got a high profile. He's in the Peacemaker TV series, as Steve mentioned earlier. And this is one where, you know, Guy can attack from a distance. You know, if Cheetah can get in close and it was hand to hand, I'd give it to Cheetah all day. And this could also be one of the ones that ends up being a free-for-all, where Guy ends up coming out on top and Cheetah doesn't advance. So, yeah, I'm going with Guy Gardner. All right, interesting matchup up next. All three of us have the same. So, first to make his pick, Rocky, Aquaman versus Hawkman. The water versus the air. Who do you got?
Yeah. Boy, oh boy, I had a tough time with this one. I love I love both these characters, Hawkman and Aquaman. I really do. But at the end of the day, I just look. This is when I just think of angry people. Who would I mean, bottom line is, you walk into a bar. Like this is, you know, let's get real for a second. You walk into a bar. You got a choice. And somebody says to you, I'm going to give you a choice. You're going to get your ass kicked tonight. It's either going to be Hawkman or it's going to be Aquaman. Who's it going to be? You know what I'm going to pick? I'm going to pick Aquaman because I know the beating won't be as bad as Hawkman. Why? Because Aquaman's going to be drinking. It's going to dehydrate him and he loses some, he gets weak. And at the end of the day, Hawkman has his mace. Hawkman has an attitude. And I think Hawkman is surrounded with more women because he's got better game than Aquaman. Why? Because Aquaman talks to fish. At the end of the day, I'm going with Hawkman all the way because he's got the anger, he's got the experience, he's got the lifetimes of experience over Aquaman. And I know Aquaman's got the power of the blue and everything else, but it's a relatively recent power. It's still unexplored. He doesn't really know the limits of it. And that which you're not totally familiar with, that's a weakness in a battle where you need to know what the hell's going on and you need to know your full wits going into a battle like this. And Hawkman, he knows. He's got the memory of all his previous lifetimes in his head. Aquaman does not. Aquaman's got a lot of power, but he's still figuring it out. I got to give the edge to Hawkman on this.
Steve?
Well, I mean, the way I looked at this, I have Aquaman against Hawkman. So I've got the deep depths of the ocean and the beautiful blue skies. And when I really start thinking and comparing the two, we've explored those nice, beautiful blue skies. That depth of the ocean is terrifying. You can go online. I mean, really, at the end of the day, our ocean is a scary, scary place. And I'm going to go back. I mean, Aquaman is evolving right now quicker than probably any other character right now in the DC universe. And I say that with what I'm reading. He is one of the books when I go and I pick up my pull list, I get home, Aquaman along with the Absolute Universe, they're the top of my to read list. I'm enjoying everything that's coming out right now with Aquaman. I'm loving it. And I mean, at the end of the day, man, that ocean is a scary, scary place. What is Aquaman going to pull out? I don't know, but I'm looking forward to it. Aquaman's my pick.
Yeah, I don't think this is a particularly close matchup. And I know there's a lot of times where I've said, well, you know, the character that can strike from afar. But here's the thing. Although Aquaman is airborne, he's got to come into close quarters in order to, you know,
he's got the power of the blue. Is there moisture in the air?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think
he's controlling the air.
He's very passionate. He's passionate about this.
I don't bracket because I, amongst any other bracket, gave this a lot of thought. And I tell you what, you give Aquaman the power of the blue, he's got like rain, moisture. He can pull that in. He can do whatever the heck he wants. They are powering up Aquaman to the point where he deserves to be an Omega level threat person. He's there. Yes. He has the opportunity to do it. The way they're writing him, I'm loving everything. I'm loving everything that's coming out with Aquaman right now. And I'm not backing down. Aquaman kicks Hawkman's ass.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Steve. I'm right there with you. Aquaman wins this, and it's not close. And this is the point where it's eye-opening for people. Oh my God, what's going on with Aquaman? Wait, Aquaman has what power? I need to go pick up this Aquaman series because
that's right.
How did he get so powerful? He's kicking ass. Yeah, it's Aquaman over Hawkman, and it's not close. All right, Rocky.
Drinking beers and not getting dehydrated.
That's right. Rocky, you have Black Lightning versus Supergirl in your next round. Who do you, or your next bracket? Who do you have?
Okay, so yeah, sorry here. I've been, right. I got, what did you say I had?
Black Lightning versus Supergirl.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. I got to go with, at the end of the day, I went with Supergirl on this one. I thought I gave Black Lightning. I gave him a lot of credit for defeating Lex Luthor, which I think was. I think that Black Lightning. Every now and then, somebody succeeds outside their pay grade, so to speak. Every now and then, what's that? I hate to use the expression because it sounds disrespectful to Black Lightning, but every dog has their day. He defeated Lex Luthor, but I think he got a little bit lucky there because Lex was just off his A or off his evil game because Lex Luthor is going through a little bit of perhaps an anti-hero phase. But at the end of the day, Supergirl, I think Supergirl has, remember, she's related to Kal-El. She's inspired by Superman. And Superman is arguably the greatest superhero ever. He's the North Star of the DC universe. She's related to him and she's inspired by him. But she's also got a capacity to, I think, again, reach, not to repeat myself, but to reach that darkness within her, but to be able to really fully embrace it, more so than even Superman, if I'm going to be blunt. I gotta go with Supergirl on this one, because Jefferson Pierce, he's a great guy, but Jefferson Pierce has got 2 daughters, and at the end of the day, can I see Jefferson Pierce killing a young woman? He's going to look in the eyes of Kara, Supergirl, and does he got what it takes to kill her when he's got the vision of his daughters in his head? I don't think he's got it. Because at the end of the day, Jefferson Pierce, he can access that darkness, but he can't go to the end. Not against Supergirl, because Supergirl's got those hush puppy eyes. Plus, she's hot. I'm a Pyrian fanboy. She's going to be drawn sexy as hell. She's going to win.
Who do you have, Steve? Your matchup is the same as mine: Luthor versus Supergirl.
So, who does Lex Luthor hate more than anything in the DC universe? He hates them super people. Period. He is going to know what to do to overcome Supergirl. And, at the end of the last movie, I'm going back to corporate. Luthor wasn't destroyed. He's still around. We can't just get rid of him in a KO event. We've already have James Gunn announcing what's coming next, right? Man of Steel. I agree. We got another Supergirl, but then we go back and we look at who I picked to go through in the next bracket, and it's Superman. And are we really going to get a Superman versus Supergirl? Is editorial really going to dull us down to that? I don't think so. I think fans really want to see how far Superman is going to push it to the limit. I'm going to go with Lex Luthor. I think he's pushing through here. I think they both see each other somewhere in the brackets, and Superman and Lex Luthor, they're going to find each other.
All right, fair enough. I also going with Lex Luthor. This is where Supergirl's, kind of luck runs out. I think, Luthor's weapon probably has something to do with kryptonite. Obviously, that's the Achilles heel for Supergirl. So, yeah, I think Luthor takes it, but I think it's going to be a close one. I think this is going to be a close fight, but yeah, I'm going with.
He could take her to a place with the red sun, throw her a 6-pack, call it a day, right?
Yeah,
that's how they're writing the character.
Fair enough.
Let's go. Let's have a good time.
Yep. So yeah, Luthor takes it, and yeah, again, close one, but I'm giving the nod to Luthor. All right, so now the epic matchup that you guys both really were looking forward to. Rocky, you've got Wonder Woman versus Lobo.
Okay. Yeah, just a moment here. I'm just setting myself up. All right, yeah, Wonder Woman versus Lobo. Yeah. First of all, this is absolutely epic. Lobo is somebody who is not afraid to. Lobo is the one character in the DC universe who I think has more successfully. I want to be clear on this. Lobo has managed to do something in the DC universe that Harley Quinn has failed to do. Lobo manages to have stories that are so ridiculous and outrageous, but still are more easily acceptable into the continuity than Harley Quinn is. Because Harley Quinn is all over the place. But with Lobo, the one consistent thing about that everybody knows about Lobo is that he is in fact insane, but he's predictable. He's predictable. He's not that out of whack. You know that he's going to destroy something, harm something, destroy something. You know that even when he does good, he does so in a way that causes the most destruction. So even when Lobo does an act of kindness, however you define kindness to mean, there's going to be an element of contempt within it. There's going to be an element of evil. Or not even evil, but there's going to be an element of, I don't like you, but I'm doing this anyway. Don't confuse my act of kindness with me caring about you. I really don't. It just happens to be that what I do happens to benefit you. I'm still a bastard. Or as he would say, I'm a bastich. That's what Lobo is. And Lobo is that badass, but he's going up against Wonder Woman. And the one thing about Wonder Woman, and Jace, I don't want to bring up all the debates you and I've had about Wonder Woman because we'll be here forever. But at the end of the day, I've always wanted Wonder Woman to be written more aggressively. And I know there are people that are going to say to me, you know, Rocky, comic boom, blah, blah. Wonder Woman is not Red Sonja. You know, you don't understand the character. I don't care. She needs to be more aggressive. And she's the peaceful warrior. And I have every right to focus on the warrior more than the peaceful aspect of it. And Wonder Woman, embracing her Amazonian nature, can go. She went full berserker rage in that Daniel Warren Johnson series, Wonder Woman Dead Earth. And I realize it's not in continuity. But man, she can kick some ass. She disemboweled Superman in that series. You want to see Wonder Woman go full berserker Viking rage? Check out Daniel Warren Johnson, Wonder Woman Dead Earth. If she can do it in another universe, she can do it in the mainstream DC universe. Lobo is screwed. Wonder Woman all the way.
Wonder Woman all the way. All right. Same matchup for you.
Yeah,
Steve,
so I've got Wonder Woman versus Lobo. I mean, I go back to that previous Starro. I mean, I really going to go back and emphasize, I love seeing Starro on this chart. And I really do think something's going to happen in that series. It's going to, Wonder Woman and Starro essentially are carrying through to this bracket. However, I've picked Lobo coming through. He's an intergalactic. This guy headhunts, man. He is the bounty hunter of bounty hunters, right? And if I am editorial and I'm thinking of drawing in some more female readership, who wouldn't want to pick up Wonder Woman and Lobo? I mean, we know who's cast as Lobo. We know what's kind of coming down the pipe as far as that goes. But now we get to see a Wonder Woman versus Lobo. Holy crap. I think this is going to be entertaining as hell. I think Lobo has the expertise. I think he's the one intergalactically is going to take over Starro, and he's going to reveal Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman, I mean, Lobo, I think is going to exert so much to down Starro. Wonder Woman comes away with the victory. Barely. But Wonder Woman is going through.
Wonder Woman barely over Lobo. All right. Well, I have Wonder Woman versus Lobo as well. I'm not as excited about the matchup as you guys, although I recognize that a lot of people are going to be really excited about it. I think they go with Wonder Woman versus Lobo. I just think Wonder Woman is the more skilled fighter, Lobo more of a brawler, and I think that kind of the tactical aspect of Wonder Woman gives her the edge over the brawler Lobo, even though I think power-wise they're probably pretty similar. But I don't have like the strong feelings about it that you guys do. To see Lobo defeat Wonder Woman, I don't know, that just feels wrong in so many ways. So that factors in as well. I think Wonder Woman defeats Lobo. So on to the next matchup. Rocky, you've got Swamp Thing versus Batwoman. Very interesting matchup. Who do you have coming out on top?
Yeah. Sorry here. Yeah, this is probably one of the easiest. You know, it's interesting because one assumes that when you go from one level to the next, at least in one way of thinking, you know, thinking one-dimensionally, I'm thinking these decisions ought to be more difficult going from one level to the next. But this was just a no-brainer for me. This is so, I don't know how anybody could pick Batwoman over Swamp Thing. It's interesting. Just as a quick aside, in the NHL and in various round robin tournaments with sports, they often have a way to take away the disadvantages that can arise from one level to the next. Because I think that this is such a ridiculously unfair matchup, putting Batwoman against Swamp Thing. I mean, I am sitting there and I'm trying to come up with a reason, and I'm usually pretty good at coming up with reasons adverse in interest to my own point of view. I can't think of a justification of how Batwoman can win this, even on her best day. I welcome anybody in the comments that could maybe enlighten me. How does Batwoman beat Swamp Thing? I don't see it on any metric. Swamp Thing is the avatar of the green. He's got Batwoman would have to have a hell of an Omega weapon. And let's be clear here. We don't know the weapons that these various contestants have in this. So Batwoman could have a whopping surprise weapon in her arsenal. Remember, all members of the Bat family seem to have some aspect of a utility belt. So who the hell knows what Batwoman has? So maybe she's, like you said, maybe she's got some pesticide or something in her utility belt that's Omega level pesticide. I mean, barring something like that, I don't see it. And to be honest with you, it would feel so contrived to me if a writer had Batwoman beat Swamp Thing. I would have a hard time believing it. It would lack verisimilitude, even in the context of this extraordinarily crazy context to begin with. Swamp Thing all the way.
All right. Well, first of all, it would be an herbicide, not a pesticide. But
you're
yeah,
a scientist, I guess. Yeah?
Yeah. Vixen versus Cyborg over in the next bracket for you, Steve.
Yeah,
what do you
so
got?
even going back to my previous brackets, Swamp Thing and the Vixen, and I pushed Vixen through, but you mean Swamp Thing and Vixen, no matter which one of those two pull through, I just Cyborg is going through one way or the other against Batwoman. I wholeheartedly feel that is what's going to happen. So whether we get a Swamp Thing or a Vixen, I'm excited to see what takes on Cyborg. Now, I went with Vixen, and then really, I think this ends up being an interesting matchup regardless, because one way or the other, we got organic material versus some AI construct of, you're right, like, and I really feel like what's going on in this universe right now is like, holy crap, how much do we rely on technology and that sort of thing? But then I also go to editorial. What's going to look better going forward? What's going to look better? Alarming how fast AI is growing. I think DC is going to be using Cyborg as, how they're going to push forward all these constructs and how AI is going to ultimately affect the DC universe. How Omega Energy is going to reflect on that is to be seen. But regardless, they need the AI system to go through to see what happens, and Cyborg is going to pull this one out.
Cyborg over Vixen. All right. Yeah, I like it. I like the pick. For me, I've got Swamp Thing versus Batwoman as well. I got Batwoman. I got Batwoman beating Swamp Thing. Now, again, this could be one of those ones where it's not necessarily a head-to-head. It's not a head-to-head. And Batwoman, maybe it's a mission that requires stealth or something, where she has to go and get a weapon or an artifact or whatever, and she's able to do things that Swamp Thing can't. I mean, yes, Swamp Thing's super powerful, but don't forget, he's got to be in communion with the green. If he's in a city, if he's in some kind of a hidden base, and he doesn't have access to the green or what have you. Also, Batwoman could use technology to separate him from the green or what have you. I mean, Swamp Thing, as powerful as he does have weaknesses. He does have limitations, and so many of the members of the Bat family know how to exploit that. Batwoman is basically trained from birth by her father to exploit the weaknesses of her enemies. I got Batwoman defeating Swamp Thing. So there you
Wow.
go. And maybe it is just as simple as as her having some herbicide, some way to prevent Swamp Thing from accessing the full levels of his abilities. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Up next, we've got Batman versus Red Hood for you both. You first, Rocky. Who do you have, Batman or Red Hood?
Yeah. This is interesting. I at the end of the day, I went with. At the end of the day, I really do feel that Red Hood would defeat Batman on this. And this is something where I felt this was for some reason, I didn't struggle with this one at all. The reality is that, I've often said the expression that's very vulgar, but it's so true scientifically, and that is you can't suck and blow at the same time, right? So this notion that Batman can be so good and so relentless, and he never gives up fighting for good. Well, okay, good. I get that. But this notion that somehow that Batman or anyone else can flip on a dime, just flip on a dime because of, I've just decided I'm going to suddenly be bad. And I can suddenly be a jerk and an asshole, pardon my language, I can be a jerk and I can suddenly embrace this darkness and I can be I just don't. Red Hood is more of a jerk than Batman. He is more inclined to being a little bit badass than Batman is. And Batman always has more prone to compassion than Red Hood. And Red Hood, at the end of the day, that will give him the edge. And I take to heart what I've read in the solicits, my own headcanon, my own interpretation. Red Hood is better at embracing the darkness than Batman. And the stuff that gave Batman the edge, when the Red Hood came back as being revealed as being alive, and Batman catering to the better instincts of Red Hood's nature and all that. How many storylines have we gotten where Jason Hood, he goes to the dark side and he's pulled back by Batman. Batman gives his speech and it's all well and good. And we have these wonderful stories, which I have enjoyed. But this is different. This is dark. This is Omega energy. Save your speeches, save your diatribes, save your good intentions, save your the better angels of your nature. No, the better angels, your angels are dead. They're not going to help you. If you have the more angels you have on your side, you're going to lose because that's not going to give you the edge in this tournament. Jason Todd is going to win, and I don't think it's going to be. Jason Todd's going to win.
I hope I see it. I hope it happens, Rocky.
It's not even going to be close.
It's not even going to be close. Wow, you heard it here first, everybody.
I bet you editorially it'll be one page dedicated to the battle. People will complain and they'll say, why is only one page dedicated to Jason Todd beating Batman? And then Snyder will say, because that's all it took.
Wow. Now,
that's my prediction.
I don't see it taking only one page. I will say that if Red Hood does defeat Batman, what a cathartic moment for Jason Todd.
Yes.
And what an incredible evolution for the character. And there's a lot of, story that can come out of that later on after this event. So in terms of looking at it from that perspective, would be a brilliant move from DC. I don't necessarily see it happening. I also think Rocky maybe has had one too many beers already. Red Hood over Batman. Wow. What an incredible pick. What an incredible pick. Again, I don't even have Batman making it out of the first round, and I don't have Red Hood. So that's what's interesting. I should say before I throw it over to Steve for his pick. In the Wonder Woman, we all had Wonder Woman versus Lobo. We all picked Wonder Woman. Every pick in that round is the same. Every pick in this round, in the round after that, where we had Swamp Thing and Batwoman. Rocky and I both had Swamp Thing versus Batwoman, and Steve had Vixen versus Cyborg. We're all different in that round.
Yeah.
So in the round, in that bracket, I have Batwoman advancing, Rocky has Swamp Thing, and Steve has Cyborg. So interesting. We all get Wonder Woman for the 2 rounds ago, and then the last round we all had somebody different. So all the same, and then it was the first time when I picked Batwoman, Rocky has Swamp Thing, Steve has Cyborg. That's the first time of any of these brackets where we all have somebody different. First time we all had somebody different the entire time. Anyway, so Batman versus Red Hood. Who do you have, Steve?
I mean, out of all the stories to tell, this one truly should be epic. Emotionally, absolutely draining. Whether it is Damian Wayne or Red Hood. I'm pretty sure Batman's going through that first round. But who we see here is going to be such an interesting story to tell. But when we look at what Batman does day in and day out, he does what needs to be done. If it means doing something that's completely offside, if it's for the betterment of the universe, absolutely he is going through. And I have Batman going through. But when Rocky goes in the other direction, it blows my mind, because I am a parent, and anyone else that's come into my life, I've always lived by a motto that try to enrich someone's life, that they're better for meeting you. And in this instance, you know, if Red Hood is to go on forward, I hope at the end of the day that Batman goes out in a form that is heroic, and he's with the fact that Red Hood is the one that is doing it for the betterment of just having him in his life. At the end of the day, I don't think Rocky is right. If I was in Vegas, I would love to see the odds on this, but I'm putting Batman through.
Yeah, again, the second round in a row, we all have somebody different, because first of all, I have Star Sapphire and Damian Wayne. You guys both had Batman and Red Hood, so no way I can have the same as either of you. You guys had the same but picked differently. So Rocky with Red Hood, Steve with Batman. I've got Star Sapphire versus Damian Wayne, and this is where Damian wins over Star Sapphire. Carol's run comes to a close. Damian, I think, again, this could be one of those free-for-all things, or maybe Damian just outsmarts her. She is relatively new to her abilities. On paper, she's the stronger hero in terms of just power level. But yeah, I'm giving Damian the nod here. And I'm a little surprised of all the people that I have Damian Wayne going so far, when I'm not a particular fan of the character, but that's just how it worked out. It's interesting that none of us had Batman versus Damian, father versus son, father versus surrogate son, with Batman versus Red Hood. You guys both picking differently is so interesting to me, because I could see it going either way when it comes to that. Like with Rocky picking Red Hood, like I said, what a cathartic way to go. I could see him getting amped up. You let the Joker kill me, and I could see the Batman defeating Jason for in an altruistic way, saying, you have so much darkness in you already, Jason. How could I possibly not defeat you? I can't let you put yourself in danger and, move even further down that path of darkness. So yeah, incredible ways to go, and great stories to be told no matter what comes out of that. So, all right, next round for you. You guys both have the same again. I have different. You guys both have Barda versus Metamorpho. I'm over here with Zatanna versus Harley Quinn. So Rocky, Barda versus Metamorpho. What do you got?
At the end of the day, Metamorpho. What an odd, what an odd pairing. Big Barda versus Metamorpho. Metamorpho in theory could just form of any poisonous gas and kill Big Barda. Yet somehow I think Big Barda is such a badass. I don't think she needs to breathe when she fights. She knows how to absolutely kill anything. She doesn't even need to be breathing. I think she'd find a way to kill Metamorpho. And I also think that she's just she's going to be powered up too much. And, you know, I got to tell you, if we're sitting here and we were playing Hero Clicks or we were playing Dungeons, a superhero version of Dungeons and Dragons, I think that you could come up with all kinds of reasons to convince me that Metamorpho should win. But then, honestly, Metamorpho could arguably win against any character in the DC universe. Even Superman, he so reforms kryptonite gas. Metamorpho arguably is really uber powerful when you think about it. But at the end of the day, Metamorpho is insecure. He's a guy who continuously insists on being in love with a girlfriend that chooses her father over him different times. She loves him. He's a boy at heart, Metamorpho. And Al Ewing, I realize Al Ewing wrote him like a Silver Age character, like he is. Metamorpho doesn't have the requisite psychological capacity to win this. He just doesn't. He does not have the ability. Psychologically, Metamorpho I view, he's almost like a young teenager. I view him like a 12-year-old at heart, even though he's a 12-year-old in an adult body, and he's too innocent. And Big Barda would just eat him for breakfast, and he doesn't have that killer instinct. I got to go to Big Barda on this. And at the end of the day, she was raised on Apocalypse, and I'm sorry, but that is definitely an edge here. Big Barda all the way.
I mean, I don't think Metamorpho can be killed. I mean, technically, he's just. And I hear what you're saying about poisonous gas, but I mean, I don't know that he can turn into poisonous gas because those would be a compound, supposedly. And I know some people get this wrong at times, and certainly in the Superman movie, kind of questionable. My understanding is he's able to turn himself into one element at a time, and that element has to be an element that's in the human body, which again, that doesn't make sense because we don't have any kryptonite in our body. So can be played a little fast and loose. But I take your point that he theoretically should be able to beat just about anybody, even with those limitations. And yeah, I don't know, again, that he can be killed. He can certainly be defeated. But what do you have as this outcome, Steve, considering all those factors?
So I had Batman versus, I have
Barda.
Barda versus Metamorpho.
Yep.
And I want to go to that previous bracket, and I just want to, hallelujah, please do not let Harley Quinn go through. I'm let's see what Metamorpho has, right? And I think once again, what is editorial? What's good for dollars and cents? I think it's to push Metamorpho through. How they do it, I can't wait to read it. I don't think if this was outside the realm of a DC K.O. event, Barda would go through. But in these circumstances, something's happening. Metamorpho's pushing through.
I love that pick, especially for what it means for your next round. That's great. All right. So for me, I've got Damian Wayne. Zatanna versus Harley Quinn in my last round. And I'm going, unfortunately, with Harley Quinn once again. For the mercenary reasons of, I think DC is going to want to keep Harley Quinn around. In terms of how she wins, well, she does lean toward the, being insane. And I could easily see Zatanna trying to, do something to her that it has to do with making her see things that aren't there, or in some way, manipulate her senses, and it not working because Harley's brain just doesn't work the way a normal person's brain works. Absolutely, because of her level of insanity. And when it comes to, if this is purely a physical fight, yeah, Harley Quinn's the better hand-to-hand fighter than Zatanna, despite the fact that Zatanna's had training from Batman. I mean, again, we've seen Harley Quinn escape from the Trinity before using her gymnastic abilities. I mean, she's an Olympic-level gymnast. So for all those reasons, I give it to Harley Quinn over Zatanna, as much as I don't care for Harley as a character. So that which makes it really interesting. So for
Harley Quinn as that comedy relief going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
exactly.
Not everything could be so serious in this series. And I think, yeah, you're right. If Harley Quinn is it could be a pure comedy reading that book on how she beats Zatanna. So
Yeah. And so again, from that bracket where we all had Wonder Woman versus Lobo and we all chose Wonder Woman, since that time, we all have a different pick for every single bracket after that. So that's really cool. Again, I had Swamp Thing versus Batwoman. You both had Rocky also had Swamp Thing versus Batwoman, and you had Vixen versus Cyborg. And then you both had Batman versus Red Hood. I had Star Sapphire versus Damian Wayne. And then you both had Barda versus Metamorpho, and I had Zatanna versus Harley Quinn. But every one of those picks, we had a different pick. So that's really going to help shake it up. And just a reminder, everybody, so if we, when we do further recordings for other rounds, if somebody has a pick in a bracket where neither one of their picks made it to the next round, we'll get a chance to redraw, although you'll get less points for picking the correct winner in that subsequent bracket. So on to the quarterfinals here. Only 4 fights remain, and we're kicking it over to Steve to go first. And he's got Superman versus Guy Gardner. So who do you got, Steve?
I mean, if we see what's happening on the big screen, the small screen even, I mean, people are falling in love with these characters. I mean, Superman's always, I think for some people, they're being introduced to Guy Gardner. And I love his FU approach to a lot of things, where Superman is very by the book. But, I mean, we are still in, no, we're in fall. Are we in fall now? We're in fall now.
Yeah, we're in fall. Yeah.
I'm still enjoying the summer of Superman. And I don't want to see it end. And I'm going Superman.
Yeah, good pick. Good pick. I also have Superman versus Guy Gardner. I'm also going with Superman. Here's where Guy's run comes to a close. Again, I mean, Superman is just he's still riding high from the summer of Superman, from his film doing so well. And yes, Guy Gardner's fan favorite, what have you. But yeah, at the end of the day, power levels, limitations that Guy has that Superman doesn't. And don't forget that Guy really looks up to Superman. So there may be hesitation there where Guy doesn't, feel like he should be advancing past Superman. That could be an aspect as well. So, all right, Rocky has a matchup because somehow Cheetah defeats Guy Gardner. And so Rocky has maybe one of the most lopsided here. Superman versus Cheetah. I don't know how.
He just wants to see the Hyperion fanboy in him. Yeah. Just wants to see Cheetah drawing the best and the best and the best.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think Cheetah. This is where the influence of Scott Snyder's comments on social media did have an impact on my voting. And it's a little bit editorial as well. This is, if at the end of the day, this is a Superman story, Superman being the North Star of the DC universe, it takes a while for him to realize how much of who he is he has to compromise in order to win. He's somebody who's so used to being nice and doing the right thing and showing mercy in his face. It takes him a while to really build up the nerve to be a real jerk and to win these battles in a very draconian and even arguably evil and relentless way. And he does that against Cheetah. And that's why ultimately, as badass as Cheetah is, and I want to be clear on this was not an easy choice for me. Because Cheetah can, I think Cheetah can defeat Wonder Woman on any given Sunday, to use the football metaphor. And therefore, I think Cheetah can beat Superman, because I think Wonder Woman can beat Superman on any given Sunday. I give that credit to Cheetah too. But in this context, I think Superman rises to the occasion. I give it to him primarily at the end of the day because he's Superman, and I think that I think story-wise, it makes for a better story with Superman defeating Cheetah, because it will show. To me, Superman defeating Cheetah will show definitively that the Boy Scout, the great super Boy Scout, this this Clark Kent, this mild-mannered reporter who's also a superhero, that he can also beat an animal instinct, horrific, destroying, eviscerating villain like Cheetah, who's possessed by one of the most evil, vile gods there is, the Ishkataga god. And I think this will be a pivotal turning point in the story, and it will show that Superman has turned a corner and suggest to the reader that, okay, Superman, yes, you've defeated Cheetah, but at what price will you pay? Yes, maybe you're moving toward King Omega, but if you lose your soul and who you are while you're getting there, is the victory worth the price you're going to pay? So I think from a storytelling point of view, this will be a pivotal victory for Superman, but also one that gives us readers pause by saying, oh no, while I'm a Superman fan, I'm glad he won. On the other hand, I'm kind of wish he wouldn't have won, because what does it say about what it means to be a Superman? That you can access your darkness, that you can access being evil, that you can access that Omega energy so readily? Is this the North Star of the DC universe after all? I love it. I love it. It's great storytelling, and that's why I give it to Superman.
I don't see. I mean, we've seen Superman get angry before. We've seen him access his negative emotions before. He could go into this entire tournament pissed off that he even has to do. What do you mean I have to fight against people that I've fought alongside, and now I have to fight against? He could be so angry and pissed off and just so feeling the negative feelings and in touch with his negative feelings for being put in this position in the first place. So I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree that it's not great storytelling, but I just wonder if that's the angle that they take. And you know, we had so much hopefulness come from Superman in the recent film, but even that speech he gives at the end when he confronts Luthor and he talks about how he has doubts and he's like, that's what makes me human. That's sort of exactly what I'm saying, right? Like, yes, he's Superman, and yes, he always tries to do the best, and yes, he's called the Big Blue Boy Scout and or North Star of the DCU, as you're putting it. But there is that aspect of him where he sees himself as a human. Even though he's Kryptonian, he still sees himself as human. He acts as though he's human in terms of being in touch with his emotions and what have you. So it is good storytelling, Rocky. You're 100% right. So I'm agreeing with you in a lot of ways, but I'm also saying they could come at it from a different perspective. But at the end of the day, here we go with all three of us on Superman in the in the quarterfinals. So that is interesting. All right, up next in the quarterfinals for Steve, Aquaman versus Luthor. Who do you got?
I mean, if you go who I just previously picked in my last bracket, is Superman. So if we come down to this bracket, who's the better matchup? Who does everybody want to see go toe to toe? Superman versus Lex Luthor, baby. And we're going to get it. And honestly, how many times has Superman and Lex Luthor met previously? I don't see Aquaman coming to the aid a whole lot of the time. I just don't know if he has it right now, depending on what tools Lex will have. Editorially, it's the best for the readership. I can't wait for it. I'm voting Lex Luthor to go through. Superman, Lex Luthor, bring it on.
Yeah, you know what's interesting, when I was looking at this matchup, because I also have Aquaman versus Luthor, I didn't even consider the fact that I had picked Superman. I was just purely going Aquaman versus Luthor. Who do I think is going to win that fight? You're 100% right. It makes for a much better story and sort of classic to have Superman versus Luthor, but I picked Aquaman. Maybe that's a mistake because
I applaud you because I would enjoy that too. It's
yeah,
a win-win.
well, I mean, and I have some reasons for it. Like, first of all, how many? Yes, you're right. How many? It is classic Superman versus Luthor, but how many times have we had that story? How can we tell that story again and make it new and fresh and what have you? I like what's happening with Aquaman currently. Maybe it's a little bit of a cheat. I've read the next issue of Aquaman already. He has an interaction with Superman, so I think Superman and Aquaman. Because Aquaman has been leveled up. He's so much closer in power level now. I'm not saying he's the same power level as Superman. He's still not as powerful as Superman, but he's much closer to the power level of Superman than he's ever been. They both, in a way, have that kind kind of regal bearing, Aquaman actually the king of Atlantis and what have you. So I like the matchup of Superman versus Aquaman and what that bodes for in the next round. And in terms of Aquaman versus Luthor, I just think, how do you continue to show that Aquaman has been leveled up? Well, yeah, you have him defeat Luthor. And also, I mean, so many times, at least for Steve and I, we've been like, yeah, what is their editorial going to want in terms of who would win or whatever. But at the same time, they're also telling the story where they're going to want to have surprises and they're going to want to throw us for a loop. And there very well may be so many people that expect it to be Superman versus Luthor. And yeah, let's go a different way. Let's subvert expectations and have Aquaman win that battle. So I've got Aquaman over Luthor, which sets up a Superman versus Aquaman for me in the next round. But Rocky, you've got Hawkman versus Supergirl. Battle of the aerial warriors here. So who do you have coming out on top?
It's funny. I'm completely different than you guys on this because I had Hawkman defeating Aquaman, and I had Supergirl defeating Lex Luthor, and I I'm playing a little bit. I'm showing my age here, but at different iterations of Supergirl knows Lex Luthor. At a different iteration, back in the Triangle days, at least during her Matrix era of Supergirl, she was even arguably she was even the lover of Lex Luthor. She was actually worked alongside Lex Luthor for a while. She knows Lex, and so in any event, not to digress, uh, I stand by my Supergirl versus Hawkman battle. And I'm giving it ultimately to Supergirl. And a lot of it has to do with because I see because with Supergirl defeating Hawkman, which I believe is a possibility, because even though Hawkman has all that pent up anger and everything else, Supergirl at the end of the day, I'm going with her experience as just as a Red Lantern, as somebody her own life experience, her being Kryptonian, I think she's got latent built up anger issues and she's got some dysfunction perhaps flowing from her
Well, yeah,
childhood.
she was a Red Lantern. She definitely has
Sure.
anger issues.
Sure. And look, any woman that can gain the respect of Guy Gardner, I don't know if that's a good thing, but it tells me that you know how to be angry. That's all I got to say to that. And so Supergirl, and this sets up a Supergirl versus Superman battle that if, for the same reason that potentially if we had a Batman Damian matchup, or a Batman Red Hood or a Damian, whatever. To me, it's the same. It's that character building moments that what defines these series. Look, let's be honest. This is a versus. This whole series is about fun. This is about. I mean, we're three adults for God's sakes. We're having fun about who's gonna win in a fight. We're like three teenagers here arguing over esoteric nonsense. Who cares?
And I love it.
Exactly. We have fun. That's what this is about. But the character side of this, what really builds these stories, aside from the battles that we're going to argue about, is the character moments that justifies the outcomes. And a Superman versus Supergirl, I mean, imagine Superman Kal-El. I mean, his experience, he never experienced any of what his cousin did in terms of the destruction of his world and what followed. Supergirl did. He got the best of all worlds and avoided all the trauma that goes with it. All Superman knows, he remembers his parents vaguely. He doesn't remember the trauma. He doesn't remember the destruction. He doesn't remember the death and everything else. Kara does. And that ultimately is what's going to give, in my view, that's going to give Kara the edge. She's going to defeat her cousin. Superman will ultimately know and decide that, and he will believe in his final moments of defeat as Supergirl rips him to shreds that you go, girl, you got this. Be King Omega. And he's going to let her win. He's not going to let her win. He's not going to have a choice because she's going to kick his ass, but it's going to be Supergirl.
All right.
Anyways, I played my next hand, but Supergirl obviously defeats
Hawkman. All right, we got you. Yeah, Wonder Woman versus Cyborg for your next match. Steve, who do you got?
I'm going to keep this simple. I'm going to keep it safe. It's Wonder Woman. She's going through and through. I mean, I think it's interesting. Like I go back and I talk about nature and AI and now we're in the realm of computers versus gods, and I mean faith. I have faith in Wonder Woman, and she's going through.
All right. I have Wonder Woman versus Batwoman. Yeah, Wonder Woman makes it through that round. I don't think it's particularly close. Batwoman's run comes to an end. I mean, they're both physical fighters, hand to hand. There's no way Batwoman without any abilities is going to be able to defeat Batwoman. So, yeah, easy pick for me, Wonder Woman. You have Wonder Woman versus Swamp Thing, Rocky.
Yeah, I do. Wonder Woman versus Swamp Thing. I'm sorry, I'm trying to catch up here on the on the visuals here. I have yeah, Wonder Woman versus Swamp Thing. At the end of the day, this is a fantastic matchup, by the way. Wonder Woman versus Swamp Thing has Wonder Woman we all know that Swamp Thing has the power of the green. But one thing about Wonder Woman is that she also is grounded to Mother Earth. Wonder Woman, through her most current iteration, is that she was created from clay. She was created from the earth, the Mother Gaia of the earth. She's from the earth. Swamp Thing is of the green, which is of the earth. This is a very interesting battle. And Wonder Woman has always had sort of a quasi-interesting relationship with Mother Earth. It's meant different things to different writers. So it really depends on the writer here. How much power do you want to give Wonder Woman with Omega energy? Could be just as deadly regarding earthly elements as the Swamp Thing could be. But at the end of the day, I see, and this is where I impute a little bit of James Gunn and the future DCU. You want to give Wonder Woman her due. I see a future Wonder Woman movie in the process. Wonder Woman defeating Swamp Thing is what's going to happen. It has to happen. I think it will happen. I think it will be epic. But at the end of the day, Wonder Woman will defeat Swamp Thing.
Interesting. So we've all got Superman going through, and we all have Wonder Woman going through. If we go all the way back to the first round, the only picks that we all had the same were Superman and Wonder Woman. If we look at round 2, the only picks that we all had the same were Superman and Wonder Woman. Wouldn't it be interesting if we got down to the end, to the finals, and we all have Superman versus Wonder Woman, we all have Superman winning? Interesting. So anyway, on to the last match of the quarterfinals. Steve, you have Batman versus Metamorpho, which is a really interesting matchup. 2 members of the Outsiders. And so, I only bring that up to say that these 2 characters have a lot of history. There's a lot of stories out there. There's a lot of Batman and the Outsiders stories. So there's a lot of interaction between Batman and Metamorpho over the years.
And I mean, I think it's going to be interesting. How DC is going to want to play this out. If this is what happens, ultimately, I think Batman is the driving force of DC. I mean, anyone reading the absolute titles, they just relaunched number 1 Batman. I mean, I don't know a time when Batman is not running on all cylinders over at DC. They seem like he is their go-to all of all, figure everything out. And as much as I kind of would love to see Metamorpho push through, it's going to be Batman. I just don't see how the editorial writes it any other way.
Yeah, which sets up a Wonder Woman versus I mean, your semifinals is interesting. So Superman versus Luthor and Wonder Woman versus Batman. Those are both very, very, very classic matchups. So it could easily go that way. I could see that happening 100%. All right. So for my next round, I have Wonder Woman versus Damian Wayne, which is interesting because we just had a Wonder Woman Damian Wayne issue. of Wonder Woman that tied into Absolute Power, which was great. Seeing the dynamic back and forth with Damian telling Wonder Woman stories of his exploits alongside Batman and kind of exaggerating things. And we saw how they actually went down, and we saw the dialogue of what he was telling her how it went down, which was really, really fun. So I like the interplay between them. But I don't think, for all his training, trained since birth to be an assassin, League of Shadows, what have you, I just still don't see Damian as quite the combatant that Wonder Woman is. So for me, pretty easy call to say Wonder Woman here is going to be defeating Damian Wayne to, Damian over Harley Quinn. Sorry, I totally gave away my next round pick. Anyway, yeah, Damian versus Harley Quinn is what I have for this round. Yeah, Damian Wayne advances again for the reason I was just saying about him being trained since birth. So, and he's not going to fall for Harley's shenanigans because he doesn't have a sense of humor. So I've got Damian Wayne advancing. So he'll face Wonder Woman, and I already gave away who wins that. But anyway, yeah, Damian Wayne for me advances to the semifinals. And then Rocky, you've got your last matchup, Red Hood versus Barda, for your last matchup in the quarterfinals. I have no idea who you're going to choose. So let us hear it.
Yeah, I at the end of the day, I got to go with Barda here. And at the end of the day, if I was to rank my Pyrian fanboy fantasies always come first above editorial, above logic, above everything else.
Yeah, Wonder Woman versus Barda.
Barda versus Wonder Woman. I mean, I'm sorry. I still have the Mr. Miracle issue where Wonder Woman hits Big Barda. I mean, there are like 3 or 4 covers where, and I can't remember all of them, but one of them is Mr. Miracle. I think it's issue 7 of the I'm going to get the year wrong, but in any event, whenever Wonder Woman and Big Barda, even if they want to spar, to me, it's like having a pillow fight or a tickle fight. Whenever women want to have a tickle fight, never object. Just sit back and watch, get out the popcorn, the beer, sit back and watch and enjoy. That's what Barda and Wonder Woman, come on, guys. This stuff writes itself. Accept the outcome, and who cares what the outcome is because we're all going to win. And, come on. To me, this is, if editorial doesn't steer this toward a Barda Wonder Woman confrontation, I mean, come on. Remember, okay, I got to watch what I say here, but I'm biased to believe that most of us collecting this are Pyrian fanboys. That's my bias. That's what I choose to believe. Don't burst my echo chamber. And so, I got to go with Big Barda over Red Hood. I mean, I'm sorry, Jason Todd, not that you've ever been my favorite character, but with Big Barda, man, Big Barda's, she would chew you up and spit you out. And if you thought the Joker knew how to hit your head with a crowbar, you ain't seen nothing.
I mean, you picked Red Hood over Batman, which shocked me. But yeah, time for Jason's run to come to an end, I suppose. Okay, so we're on to the semifinals here. Only 2 matchups. I've got Superman versus Aquaman. Rocky has Superman versus Supergirl. And Steve has Superman versus Luthor. So Superman versus Aquaman, I think that will be a really good matchup for the reasons I stated before. Aquaman being closer in power level than he ever has been. But this is still, we're past the summer of Superman. This is the year of Superman, and I think Superman prevails. I think they're both going to be fighting angry, and ultimately, reluctantly, I think Superman will be defeating Aquaman. Now, Rocky kind of telegraphed his pick, which really surprised me. I want him to really kind of elucidate on that a little bit more. Superman versus Supergirl in this round, Rocky, and you have Supergirl winning. What are you doing? Okay with that?
Yeah, I do. I do have Supergirl winning because I do think that at the end of the day, Superman has to use his. My logic is Supergirl will defeat Superman because, and I don't think that. I think that logically makes sense because we've got to remember if we're incorporating a mega energy here, who would deny that Supergirl and Superman both have, to me, it comes down to the capacity toward embracing that darkness. And Superman is, in my view, arguably a more enlightened individual than his cousin because of his life experience and everything else. But enlightenment isn't going to win you the day. If you're the Buddha, if you believe in Christ, if you're religious, if you're spiritual, if you're a real nice guy, if you're the type of person that helps old ladies across the street, you're going to lose in the battle for King Omega. Superman, at the end of the day, you can embrace your darkness all you want. Maybe you've got a super capacity to really embrace your dark side. But you know what? You got multiple multiversal iterations, and most of them you're on the side of good. The evil side of Superman, the Ultraman, most of the time Superman is good. Supergirl, however, is dysfunctional at heart. She's a little bit mixed up. She's a teenager at heart, and God bless teenagers, but you're still learning life. You're still learning those harsh lessons, but at the same time, that's what makes you a little bit more of a wild card. And I got to give it to Supergirl. And at the end of the day, Superman isn't going to be able to have the heart to kill his cousin. And this is about using lethal force. This is about doing all it takes. Supergirl can do that. Superman cannot, in my view.
Wow. I don't know. I don't know. Steve, who do you got? Superman versus Luthor in your matchup.
I look at Rocky's pick with Superman and Supergirl, and anyone that's at DC has that thrown on their desk. I want you to write this. Holy crap. First of all, I feel for them because, man, that's going to be a tough story to write. I went the easier way out. I went with Lex Luthor. And for Superman, anytime he seems to one-up Lex Luthor, there's a reason for it. And I think the reason we're going to see him one-up Lex Luthor this time is because earlier I have Lex Luthor taking out Supergirl. That is where he's going to draw his inspiration, the anger that's needed to oust the villain of the villains, per se. But at the end of the day, Superman is going to come out on top like he always does, and he's going to leave Luthor in the dust. Superman's going ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Superman over Aquaman. You've got Superman over Luthor, and Rocky has Supergirl over Superman. I mean, I don't see it. I mean, it's great that we don't all have the same pick because there's an iteration of this where we all pick Superman to get out of the semifinals, and we all pick Wonder Woman to get out of the semifinals, and we all have Superman versus Wonder Woman in the finals. We could all theoretically end up with the same final pick. But that's not going to happen now because Rocky has picked Supergirl. And part of the reason I don't think it will happen, I mean, your reasoning is sound, Rocky, but so much of this entire event has been billed as a Superman event. So in that way, it's sort of telegraphed that he's going to make it out unless he does. Maybe he goes out in the first round, loses to Giganta for the same reason that I was saying,
that would be wild.
That Batman doesn't make it out of the first round. Maybe Superman's like, I have a better way of winning. I'm not going to fight my colleagues. I'm not going to fight my friends. I'm not going to fight the people that I fought alongside. I care too much to your point you made earlier about he doesn't have the negative Omega energy, and he goes off just removes himself from the equation and goes and tries to find a different way to win. That's entirely possible. It could be that this whole KO, all these brackets or whatever, is just a distraction from what Superman's really going to do to win the day, at the end. Maybe whoever gets the ability, because the whole idea here, everybody, don't forget, is that whoever wins this tournament, as it were, gets to wield the Heart of Apocalypse, which has been now growing in the center of the Earth, like it grew in the center of the Earth that's over in the Absolute Universe. It's energy that is, powered, or it is a power source or an artifact that is powered by negative energy. And it could possibly be that whoever gets the Heart of Apocalypse to take on Darkseid is still defeated, but then Superman shows up even without being able to channel the Omega energy and defeats Darkseid with his, good energy. We saw in the All-In special that Darkseid and Superman are basically two opposing forces. So even without choosing to, if you can't beat him, join him, Superman goes, no, I don't want to join him. I don't want to channel Omega energy. I don't want to win the tournament. I'm still going to find a way to win with my own energy. Could be possible. So Rocky could be 100% correct. Maybe Superman does decide. Maybe he doesn't decide that until the semifinals. Maybe he goes out in the first round. Who knows? Can't wait to find out. That being said, I've got Wonder Woman versus Damian Wayne. As I said before, this is where Damian's run comes to an end. Wonder Woman is the better combatant. She's got superpowers that he doesn't have. As much as I like the interaction between the two characters, I think Wonder Woman comes out on top. You've got Wonder Woman versus Barda, the cat fight of the century. Rocky, I'm sure that you, in your heart of hearts, wish that this was a Black Label book and their clothes could all be ripped off in the middle of the fight and they'd end up nude by the end of it. But regardless of that, who do you have winning this fight? Barda versus Wonder Woman. This is a true clash of the Titans here.
Yeah, just a moment here. I want to try to get rid of let's see here. Sorry.
Well, you can go ahead and okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just making some adjustments here on my I want to get rid of I apologize to those listening in the chat. I'm just eliminating visually for those watching.
While he's
Steve, go ahead while he does whatever he needs to do.
I mean, I've got Wonder Woman versus Batman. I mean,
yeah.
Who wouldn't walk into a comic book store and see those two names on a single book and not pick it up? And God help me, should they do another blind bag? My goodness. Anyways, that set aside, I mean, Batman does what it takes to get it done. But at the end of the day, Wonder Woman, she's badass. And I don't think he has what it takes to one-up her. I think she's going through. Wonder Woman is my pick.
Wonder Woman is your pick. Yeah, so theoretically, that sets up you and me with the same finals. So that's interesting. So again, I'm glad that Rocky, I think, erroneously went with Supergirl in his pick, but we'll see if he ends up going with Wonder Woman here, where we all would have gone with. Will 5 out of the 6 be the same? All right, Rocky, are you ready? Wonder Woman versus Barda. Who do you got?
Yeah, Wonder Woman versus Barda. At the end of the day, I had to go with. I went with Wonder Woman. I gave Wonder Woman the slight edge over Barda because while Barda has that connection to Apocalypse and that badass killer instinct, Wonder Woman has that connection to the Earth, to the Mother Gaia, to her various goddesses. She's got a connection to. Wonder Woman has always had an interesting relationship, a precarious relationship with magic. And she's always had an interesting relationship to the gods, the Greek gods, other gods. Also, she's had a connection to the Mother Earth, which is indirectly connected to the green. By the time you add up all the resume and the elements of power set and everything else, Wonder Woman beats out Barda. Plus, she's got that ability to use lethal force. Remember, Wonder Woman at the end of the day was more than prepared to snap the neck of Maxwell Lord, even though it upset Batman so much that Batman had to kick her out of the Batcave because he was a little bit, because he won't kill the Joker. The Batman won't do what needs to be done. That's why Batman's not winning this. Superman ain't going to win this because he doesn't have what it takes to win this. Wonder Woman does. She's proving it time and time again, both in continuity and otherwise, despite some hiccups and my continuous annoying bitching from sometimes in terms of how she's written. The fact is, Wonder Woman is going to defeat Barda, and she's well on her way to being a strong contender for King Omega.
Yeah, so 5 out of our 6 picks are the same in the semifinals, with the exception of Supergirl over Superman, which is interesting. And the thing is, I don't think any of us are wrong, except Rocky picking Supergirl. But again, it could possibly be. But I go back to things that, hints that have been said. Scott Snyder talking about how, Dark Knight's death metal was the Wonder Woman story. I don't think they do another Wonder Woman story. So at the end of the day here, I've got Superman versus Wonder Woman. Steve has Superman versus Wonder Woman. Rocky has Supergirl versus Wonder Woman. I have Superman taking the whole thing. I think this is a Superman event. Again, Wonder Woman just had her event. It's been a while since Superman has had an event. The argument could be made Final Crisis is a Batman story. But yeah, Superman versus Wonder Woman. And I think, Superman, it goes one of two ways. Either Superman loses early and does that thing I was saying about not wanting to wield the Omega energy and wanting to defeat Darkseid with his positive energy alpha energy, for lack of a better term. But yeah, I've got Superman versus Wonder Woman. I've got Superman winning. Now, Rocky, you've got Supergirl versus Wonder Woman. It's hard not, in the previous round you had Wonder Woman versus Barda. It's hard again not to just think, well, you're just going girl against girl because that's what you want to see, which is perfectly valid. Perfectly valid. No reason to not want to see that. But it kind of sounds like you've set this up for Wonder Woman to win, and Supergirl's never had a big event either. But it kind of sounds like you've set it up for Wonder Woman again. But again, we just had Wonder Woman in Death Metal. It wasn't that long ago, being offered to become a god, part of the quintessence. So who do you have? Do you have Wonder Woman winning again, being the most powerful character, or do you have Supergirl getting her due?
Well, yeah, I can answer that. And the bottom line is that at the end of the day, Wonder Woman, as the fact of the matter is that look, from an editorial point of view, I appreciate the fact that Wonder Woman is a character that Scott Snyder has said that Death Metal was Wonder Woman's story. And I think it was a terrible Wonder Woman story because at the end of Death Metal, I think Wonder Woman failed the universe. She decided to sacrifice humanity because she didn't think humanity would survive under the Batman Who Laughs. And it was only through the mercy of the cosmic gods that we were given a second chance. And that's not Wonder Woman's true character. Wonder Woman would never give up on humanity. And she wouldn't give up on humanity even in the face of one being faced with an absolute dark side universe. And Wonder Woman will do what it takes. Wonder Woman versus Supergirl is epic, but Wonder Woman at the end of the day, because of her connection, she's divine and human. I think Wonder Woman embodies both the spiritual and the physical, and our worst effort, our greatest darkness and our greatest light, and she can embrace them all 100%. She's got Supergirl beat. I go with Wonder Woman to win, to be crowned King Omega.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you that Wonder Woman would beat Supergirl, which is why I don't think Supergirl makes it. Because again, I just don't see them giving Wonder Woman the crown after they gave her the crown in Death Metal. I just don't think they do it 2 big events in a row. But I could be wrong. I 100% could be wrong. I would be very surprised though, if it ends up being Wonder Woman. But at the end of the day, it's like, man, Wonder Woman's one of your favorite characters. I just picked Superman, who's my favorite character, so I can't begrudge your pick. Which is why I think I know who you're picking, Steve. You've got Superman versus Wonder Woman as well. Are you going to throw me a curveball? Who do you have?
Well, at some point, I mean, we go back, we look at Rocky's pick, Superman, Supergirl, right? At some point, Superman's going to do something for humanity. And I think this is the moment when something is going to go sideways, whether he goes completely evil or what be it. But I think the readership is going to be in for a complete misdirection. And I think Wonder Woman is going to do what it takes to take down Superman.
You guys are both on crack.
End this event being crowned Omega. Wonder Woman is my pick. At some point, we can't go through a whole tournament after the summer of Superman and being forced Superman. As much as I would love, I mean, I'm wearing Superman. I'd love to see him. But at some point, Superman is going to do something that is going to make the readership, humanity, believe in humanity once again. Despite everything that's going on with our political systems, tariffs, everything, Superman is going to do something in the pages of these books that is going to bring the readership and acknowledge and believe in humanity and the things that makes Superman human, even though he is not. Wonder Woman is willing to do what it takes, and she is going to do it, and she's going to be the victor. Wonder Woman is my pick to take the KO event. Crowned Omega.
You guys couldn't be more wrong. So Superman's going to do something to inspire humanity, and apparently, what that thing is he's going to lose to Wonder Woman. Again, I just don't like if you guys had somebody other than Wonder Woman defeating Superman in the finals, I would be more likely to think that you had a possibility of being correct. Again, I keep going back to the fact I just don't see them giving Wonder Woman that high profile when that's what they did in the last big event. And you could make the argument, well, Dark Knight's Death Metal wasn't the last big event. Absolute Power was the last big event. But the way it was structured, Absolute Power didn't cross over into everything the way that Dark Knight's Death Metal did. So, again, you guys pick Wonder Woman. I mean, obviously you're entitled to pick whoever you want. I'm a little surprised that I disagree somewhat. I kind of thought, we'll go into this and they'll pick whoever they'll pick and I'll pick whoever. But man, and you could have been right. You could have picked anybody but Wonder Woman, and I would say it would be more plausible. And again, I'm purely going off the fact I just don't see them. We just had that Wonder Woman event with Dark Knight's Death Metal. I don't see her being the pinnacle again. And also, shame on you, Steve. Superman's your favorite character. I can respect somebody for picking their favorite character. Wonder Woman, maybe Rocky's second favorite after Cassandra Cain. Superman's my favorite character. How could you betray your boy Superman like that and go with Wonder Woman? Shame on you. Take that shirt off. Take that shirt off. You don't deserve to be wearing that shirt.
You would lose the viewership if I took this shirt off. But I did struggle with the Batman versus Wonder Woman because I would love to see a Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
And even then, I still think Superman would do something that's so human. So human. Such a fault that's in every single one of us, where Batman would be the victor. So
if you picked Batman, I would be more likely.
Yes,
I would be more likely
too.
If you'd picked Batman over Wonder Woman and then picked Batman over Superman, I'd be like, yeah, I could see that. I could see Superman going, you know what, Batman, you channel darkness better than me. You have a better chance of beating Darkseid. I'm going to let you beat me. Or is this the event that they use to level up Batman to like what we're seeing with Aquaman and the other? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you go to most readership, and Batman is just the man, right? Yeah,
like,
exactly.
is this where we say, okay, Batman, now guess what? You've got the Omega energy. What are you going to do with it?
Trust me, you didn't even pick Batman. You didn't even pick Batman over Wonder Woman.
I just think Wonder Woman would be my pick, and that's all. That would have been. You know what would have been great had you picked Batman over Wonder Woman and then Batman over Superman. Then I would have had Superman, Rocky would have had Wonder Woman, and you would have had Batman. We each would have picked one of the Trinity to have won. That would have been nice symmetry there. But ultimately, you guys both went with Wonder Woman. Again, I just don't see it. I guess we'll see who's going to be right. Who does Wonder Woman? What if we're all wrong? What if Wonder Woman doesn't even get out of the first round? What if Wonder Woman loses to Starro? I kind of want Starro, even though it would cost me a lot of points. I almost want Starro to defeat Wonder Woman now. We'll all be epically wrong. But yeah, at the end of the day, I really wish that we had gotten a chance to see why am I drawing a blank? The Crypto against Dexstar. That would have been fantastic to have them, as opposed to, who did we say we didn't think really should have been in here? Cyborg versus Batwoman, or wasn't it that one? I think it was that one that we said, why are they there? That would have been cool to see.
Dexstar.
Yeah.
Dexstar.
Crypto against Dexstar. I'm also a little disappointed there's no Ambush Bug anywhere in here.
Yeah.
He would have been another good pick. Yeah. Interesting. This did not go. I mean, I sort of had a feeling that we would all end up with Superman, especially when I looked at the first round picks. I'm like, okay, the only pick that we all had the same in the first round was Superman. We all had Superman. We all had Wonder Woman. So I really thought we were going to end up all three of us with Superman versus Wonder Woman in the finals, and we were all going to pick Superman. Well, we all ended up with Wonder Woman. We didn't all end up with Superman. But I can't believe I'm the only one that picked Superman. That is crazy.
Was that 3 points?
No, it's 16 points in the last round.
Oh, well.
And again, like, yeah, whoever gets the last one, correct, if they go all the way through, really ends up, because you get full points for that pick all the way through. Yeah. What'll be interesting is if they really throw us for a loop and it's a possibility that by the time we get to like the third round, that none of us have any correct picks anymore. We're all having to do redraws, which will really cut into the points.
I feel compelled to make the comment that, I have my own views on Wonder Woman, which I have no problem with people vehemently disagreeing with, but I find it very interesting that we got three very different, points of view on the heroes of the DC universe, and we're arriving with Wonder Woman being at least one of the top two. And I just find that so interesting that this, traditionally Wonder Woman is written, I think, too much on the compassionate, loving, mercy, supplicating side. She's got a badass side. And the fact that we're talking that Wonder Woman makes it to the finals, and even our own iterations with our different points of view, that we still think, clearly all of us at some level think Wonder Woman is capable of accessing some darkness within her. I just wish more of that was exhibited in her own series.
Well, keep in mind,
out there, but we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, keep in mind that as I said earlier, I didn't factor in capacity for darkness at all in my picks. I factored in who I think would actually win in a fight if these people were real, who I want to win in my heart of hearts, and who I think editorial will want to have to win in terms of, moving the story forward and potential for possible new. I did not factor in darkness at all. I'm not saying that Wonder Woman doesn't have the capacity for darkness. I think she does, but I think it's compared to most of these people on the list, she does not have the capacity for darkness as much as Batman does, or Batwoman, or a lot of these other characters. Like, maybe the person on this list that we could argue has the least capacity for darkness is Superman, Jay Garrick as well, who you mentioned earlier, Steve. But Wonder Woman's up there in the top three for me in terms of lack of capacity for darkness. Let me put it that way. I don't think she has it in her. She gets so far in my brackets purely based on the fact of, if this is a fighting bracket, in my mind, she's one of the most powerful fighters in the DCU. Maybe she doesn't necessarily have the skills that a Lady Shiva does, or a Connor Hawk, or even Batman, but she makes up for that with actual superpowers. Like when she may not land as many blows in a fight as Batman does, for example, but her blows, when they do land, knock you into next week. So for me, it's not necessarily her capacity for darkness as much as it is just, this is a fighting tournament, and she's one of the most powerful fighters. She's one of the most formidable warriors in the DCU. So for me, that's why she makes it so far. What about you, Steve? Why do you think Superman, or Wonder Woman rather, makes it so far for you?
I just think, part of it is, and I'm not going to lie, my wife is a huge Wonder Woman fan. She's got the logo tattooed on her.
The best answer.
And I'm all in all, I'm a fan of Wonder Woman as well. And I think it's her time. Well, they've given her time to shine. I'm not going to dispute that. I just think for Superman's growth, I think something's got to happen. We can't just let him take this tournament. And at some point, I knew I would have to make Superman lose. I don't know what he's going to do, but he's going to do something. And it's going to make the readership really deep down look inside themselves and want them to be a better human being. And with that, it's not that believing in Wonder Woman. I just think Superman is going to do something on the other end, and Wonder Woman's going to take the victory. So
Yeah,
I can't really say why Wonder Woman's going to win. I think it's because Superman's going to do something that's going to allow Wonder Woman to win, if that makes sense.
It's not so different than what I was saying. He takes himself out of the tournament to go find another way to win. He refuses to win by channeling King Omega energy or Omega energy or wielding the Heart of Apocalypse. I could completely see that. Yeah. So will he does he do that at the very end? Does he do it sooner? Does he lose to Giganta? I just don't see that happening, but I guess we'll see. But anyway, that's going to do it for this episode, everybody. Thanks to Steve for joining us. Don't forget that if you want to tune in to our regular DC Spotlights, where Rocky and I talk about all the DC books that come out on any given week, be sure you head over to his channel on YouTube, Comic Space Boom ! Once you're there, ring that notification bell so you know when those episodes drop. Like, comment, and subscribe. As long as you're here checking this out on the Comic Source channel, be sure you're subscribed here as well. Let us know who you think's going to win in the comments below. We love to get conversations going. Again, smash that like button, hit that notification bell so you know when new content comes out, as it always does. And be sure you like this video. That's really how you can help out. If you prefer listening audio only, no matter if it's the regular DC Spotlight that comes out every week or all the other Comic Source content, it's always available on our podcast feed, which you can find by going to your favorite podcasting app or platform, doing a search for the Comic Source and subscribing. So more interviews coming up. Again, hopefully I'll be going to New York Comic Con. If you guys want to help out with that, I got my PayPal below in the show notes. Anything you contribute, I really, really appreciate. Really hoping to make it happen. Again, just to have interviews, to have more content. And of course, if anybody's going to be there at New York Comic Con, and obviously I'll be letting you guys know that I'll be there, and you want to meet up, again, let me know. So don't forget to tune in to Rocky's channel again for that DC Spotlight coming out later this week. So that's going to do it for this episode. Really appreciate everybody hanging in till the end. If you are still here, I know it was a long one. And we'll be back with further rounds unless it gets really convoluted with when winners are announced. We'll have to try to figure something out. But anyway, that's going to do it for this episode, everybody. Appreciate you joining as always, and we'll talk to you next time.
See you later.